the Bulldogs taking on Valdosta State, the Blazers from Georgia, in their first ever meeting on the biggest stage ever. As we say hello and welcome in with Tom Luganbill, I'm Tiffany Green. Now, certainly these two teams know how to put up points, so we expect to see a lot, but we'll have a great quarterback duel as well.
We certainly will, and you don't get to play for a national championship, Tiffany, unless you have outstanding quarterback play. And these two quarterbacks we have on hand here today, for Ferris State, Route Campbell, for Valdosta State, Rogan Wells, have combined for an astounding 91 touchdowns, either by air or on the ground. Oh, and by the way, both of these teams rank within the top 8 of Division II football running the football. So defensively today, Tiffany, both these teams better pick their poison.
Averaging 52 points a game, Valdosta State comes in leading the nation in scoring offense. First time two undefeated teams have made it back to the national championship game in Division II since 2015. Great crowd on hand here at McKinney ISD Stadium outside of the Dallas area. This is a high school stadium, hard to believe, but a beautiful facility for an awesome football game that we're expecting today. And
awesome weather. How about these fans for Ferris State? I think they took the opportunity to leave Big Rapids, Michigan, come down here to McKinney, Texas for a nice sunny and 60-degree day. I don't know if their players are going to know what to do.
Well, Coach Tony Anise said they will certainly appreciate and soak up all of this sun as we're just about underway. Back to receive for Valdosta State in the black jerseys, Kenny Benjamin and Seth McGill. And Benjamin brings it out from just about the goal line. Benjamin with a ton of speed, and he's brought down just near the 25-yard line. Well, we mentioned him in the open, Rogan Wells, the redshirt sophomore out of Fort Mill, South Carolina, has led a prolific offense this season.
Yeah, not only is he an accomplished runner, 9 touchdowns on the ground, and what is a very balanced offense. You see some spread principles mixed in with some multiple pro-style principles, but it's the improvement in the vertical passing game. Be on the lookout for an awful lot of explosive plays downfield from Rogan Wells in this Blazer offense.
Wells coming in with better than 2,700 yards in the air. And back to pass on the first play. Some pressure coming from the outside, and he was pushed out by Austin Edwards. Taking a look at who the weapons are for the Blazers. Well, Rogan Wells certainly has a ton of them to go to. He's got just a little bit of everybody. And one of those really special playmakers is Jamar Tompkins, who has come on and emerged in that running game, as you mentioned, Tom.
And you look at them, they're all young. They're all going to be coming back for what is an undefeated football team coming in here to the national championship.
13-0 on the season. Valdosta State coming from the Gulf South Conference. And Wells on the ground picks up a few. Brought down by Centel Williams, pickup of 5. Taking a look at who's protecting him up front. Well, you got to point to the center and their leader, Jeremy King, the 5th-year senior out of Macon, Georgia.
And not only does head coach Kerwin Bell feel like he's the best center in Division II football, he feels like he's got the best offensive line in Division II football, as evidenced by their ability to rush for almost 260 yards per game.
Interesting 3rd down and 5. They were 2 of 10 last week in that win over Notre Dame College. We'll see how they fare here. Wells takes his time, surveys the field, and hits Trayvon Roberts. And Roberts picks up the first down, the sophomore out of Miami. And slammed out of bounds, but they convert here. Taking a look at the Ferris State front 7, and they've got a couple of D ends out of the Lansing area that really can cause some havoc up front.
Yeah, Austin Edwards, Parker Underwood, tall. This is a very long defensive front. And at the Division II level, you don't see a lot of bodies built like Ferris State on defense. They're built to stop the run.
Another pass, once again, rolling out to his right, and Wells lets it go and completes the pass. Michael Henderson, the true freshman out of Bellevue.
And this is just a basic corner route. You see the little stab and then get up vertical. Quarterback bends him over to the sideline. A really nice job there by Michael Henderson. As you mentioned, just a freshman, not very big, 5'8". Not any of these receivers out here for Valdosta State are very big, but they sure are explosive.
Deshaun Thrower, the junior, one of the leaders in that secondary. They're being tested right now. First run of the game, Jamar Tompkins bounces outside and a touchdown, saving tackle by Centel Williams.
Boy, Centel Williams, you're right, Tiffany, saving a touchdown on that. Great cutback there by Jamar Tompkins, who Kerwin Bell said, hey, we knew he was fast, we knew he was explosive. We didn't realize until we got into the season that he was the complete back. The power, the ability to fall forward, break arm tackles. Wasn't able to break that one, though.
Yeah, but when you're talking about a guy who is averaging better than 10 yards per carry, that's jaw-dropping numbers.
Oh, yeah.
So 2nd and 2, the Blazers continuing to drive with ease on their first possession. Tompkins through the tackles, and he picks up the first down. You mentioned Kerwin Bell, the head coach of Valdosta State, who's got this team absolutely rolling right now. They won the Gulf South Conference in his 3rd season with Valdosta State.
Been a very successful coach at the FCS level, too, at Jacksonville University. Highly successful coach at Trinity Catholic in Ocala, Florida at the high school level. 13-year professional football career. Tiffany, I remember him in the Orlando Thunder in the old World League with the fluorescent green uniforms.
And now he's all about the red and black. His team in the red zone. Wells surveying the field, throws it up. And well covered as the intended target was Joe Fortson. Well, this is an area where Valdosta State has done amazingly well this season. 91% of the time they've come in the red zone and scored. That's 2nd best in Division II.
Yeah, and this is where the game is won and lost. You know, everybody talks about total defense and total offense and all of those things. Really what it's about is, can you get off the field on 3rd down, and are you efficient in the red area? And that's one of the reasons why Valdosta State's averaging 52 points a game on the season.
2nd and 10 now from the 13. Wells elects to keep it all the way right up the middle. And a strong run by Rogan Wells. You mentioned just how well he can run with his feet. Good example right there.
Yeah, and you know, you have an extra man now on offense. You've got an extra gap created when you use the quarterback as a runner. That forces Ferris State to have to walk down an extra body in the box. If they don't do that, continue to watch for Valdosta State to hand the ball off to their quarterback. He's got 9 touchdowns on the season. He's been a weapon for them in the run game.
Seth McGill to the left of Wells. And the handoff going outside to the right, gets the corner and edge, and steps out of bounds just before the goal line, and a penalty marker is on the field.
Holding, offense, number 87, 10-yard penalty.
Brad Carroll, our official, giving the call, so holding penalty on Valdosta State. That backs them up just a little bit.
Yeah, number 87 there. And the head referee, who was right behind it, didn't make the call. It was the back judge that threw it late. I kind of thought I saw holding as well. I looked immediately to the head referee, no call, and then the flag comes in late.
So Travis Taylor stays on the field along that right side. Now the offense ready to go once more. Backed up now, 3rd and 11. Wells over the middle, and not able to come up with it is Deshaun Blair.
Well, the ball didn't come off of Rogan Wells' hand very well right here. You see the wobble off of it. The end result, a very accurate throw. This is good coverage. A little bit of the right arm around the waist there, but not a lot of jostling to get to the football. Probably why you saw a no call right there, and just a tough attempt at a catch with the sun coming right down on the intended target's eyes.
31-yard field goal attempt as Andrew Gray is on, the senior. Eyes down the field goal, puts it up. And no good. So one of those rare opportunities where Valdosta State does not score in the red zone, and that's a big lift for this Ferris State defense.
Well, and it's huge. You take 4.5 minutes off of the clock, and you come away with no points. You have penalties inside the 10-yard line, not the way you want to start off this game in the first quarter, and not even close on that one for Andrew Gray, the kicker, the senior out of Johns Creek, Georgia.
And now we'll get our first look at seeing Route Campbell, the junior quarterback out of Detroit, Michigan, the Harlan Hill Award winner, just named yesterday for that prestigious honor given to the best player in Division II. The double pass, and nobody is there. Down the sideline, the trickeration to start things off, and Keandre Craig in for the score. On the first play for Ferris State on offense, and it was a big one.
I love the aggressive call. Listen, you hold them on defense, you miss a field goal, you know you've got that, you've practiced it, you're saying, hey, if we get the right situation, this is what we're going to come out with out of the gate, and boy, you get an overly aggressive Valdosta State defense, takes the bite on the bubble screen. What a well-executed play for Ferris State.
And Tony Anise trying to bring home that first ever Division II National Championship trophy back to Big Rapids, Michigan. Well, the double pass, thank Javon Shaw for this one. He finds his homeboy, Keandre Craig, down the sideline, and he's able to make it into the end zone untouched. Ferris State on top, 7-0. Route Campbell always finds a way to get involved in scoring plays. He's had an interesting journey to make it to Ferris State. For more, let's bring in the third member of our team, and Alex Cordry.
Thank you, Tiffany. Well, Route Campbell was a highly touted recruit from Detroit, Michigan. He was receiving offers from the likes of Notre Dame, Alabama, and Michigan State, but Campbell was involved with 2 incidents that cost him the opportunity to play at those schools. He assaulted a school security guard, landing him in jail, and after his release, he pled guilty to a misdemeanor charge of domestic violence involving a girlfriend and several, which caused more jail time. But Campbell went to junior college, and from there, Coach Anise and Ferris State gave him a second chance. He's now helped the Bulldogs to go 15-0. He won the Harlan Hill Trophy last night as the D2 Player of the Year, but he wants to win a national championship. We'll see if they can do that today.
Thanks so much, Alex. An incredible journey, and in talking with Coach Tony Anise just about the background that they had to do to find out if this was the right fit for their program. They really did their due diligence.
And they had to. And it's a great story of redemption. But when you understand, when you're making a choice like this, you're not just making the choice as a football coach or the leader of a football program. You're having to make it as a university. So you better start vetting the right people to make sure you feel completely sound in your decision. And this young man has not let them down. He has helped build this program into a national power, and here they are playing for a national championship.
Valdosta State back on the field. Their offense, and wrapped up and brought down is Rogan Wells. Their first. Austin Edwards, now 8.5 sacks on the season. That's a -5 play.
You see Austin Edwards, number 8. He's going to come inside move on the offensive tackle there, Rouse Singleton for Valdosta State. This was an area Kerwin Bell was very concerned about. The head coach, heavily involved in the offense for Valdosta State. Could they handle the defensive ends for Ferris State in pass protection?
Edwards, the leading tackler for the group, the junior out of Lansing, Michigan. And look, Tony Anise has a couple of guys who could go on to play at the next level. Austin Edwards, one of them. But what he's been able to do in his 7 seasons, they are in the midst of their best run in program history over the last 5 years. He's done an amazing job, and they find themselves in their first ever title game.
22-year high school head coaching career, 3-year junior college head coaching career in which he went 30-7, I believe. Now you see this job at Ferris State, which many people told him not to take. What a remarkable job he's done in 7 seasons.
Wells with time finds his man, and the pass is complete to Kenny Benjamin, the leading receiver on the team coming into today's game.
This is just a nice little seam route to isolate the safety you see in the middle of the field. This is an area where Kerwin Bell, the head coach, and Cade Bell, his son, who's the offense coordinator, felt like Rogan Wells made great strides in anticipating throws. Throwing balls to a spot, throwing guys open. That's a prime example right there.
And now the handoff to Tompkins. And Tompkins trying to move on that outside and is able to pick up some extra yards slithering through that secondary.
That's what I referenced earlier when Coach Bell said, we knew he was fast, we knew he was explosive, but then to make people miss, then to be able to lower your shoulder and get an extra 2 to 3 yards, always be falling forward. You know, it's easy to look at these teams and say, wow, they're number one in the country and their conference and total yards and total offense, but they run the football better than they throw it. That's what makes these teams so dangerous.
And Tompkins has Rogan Wells with the run, but Tompkins is a player who redshirted last year, had some time to learn the system a little bit more, and has come on, as you mentioned, how great their rushing attack is, a school record of 273 yards per game.
Well, when you're running the football that effectively, you are forcing the defense to add somebody to the box. You get one-on-one coverage, and that provides more opportunities in the passing game, and that's why he's excelled so much here in his second year.
Wells pump fakes, trying to go down the sideline, pass incomplete to David White. When you look at this Valdosta State offense, and everyone knows coming in just how good they've been all season long, they put their foot on the gas immediately on that first drive, but what do they come back out with, given the fact that they weren't able to get up points?
Well, you can tell that they're not backing off at all. I mean, we've seen the throw down the seam for a plus 20-yard gain. We just saw the attempt down the sideline. They're going to do what they do, and they just need to get into a little rhythm. They just seem to be out of sync ever since they got that holding penalty.
And this one, offside, saw a free play opportunity there for Valdosta State, just couldn't complete, going down the sideline again, incomplete to Craig, but that one will go against Ferris State most likely.
And Rogan Wells is going to wish he had this ball back. He knew he had a freebie, but you've got to give your target a chance to catch it. Keep the ball in bounds, keep it up high, so you at least have a 50-50 ball, knowing there's no danger because of the penalty.
Offside. Defense. Number 32, 5-yard penalty, still third down.
Sam Hybor, the guilty party for the Bulldogs. And we talk about Route Campbell, and obviously he was the winner of that Harlan Hill Trophy, but Rogan Wells on the other side was a finalist.
Sure.
Put up some great numbers this season, responsible for 44 touchdowns on the year. The handoff, Tompkins with room, and he's wrapped up and brought down by Deshaun Thrower.
That's the type of run I'm talking about. The initial contact right there was made 4 yards previous to where he landed. That's what you're looking for out of your backs. Just get a little bit more. Maybe if, you know, you're not going to win every foot race, you're not going to make everybody miss, but you can't go backwards. You got to create your own forward momentum. I think Tamar Tompkins does a really nice job of that.
7-yard pickup, good enough for the first down. We saw a heavy dose of passing in that first drive. Now a little bit more mix of run, and Rogan Wells didn't see anybody down the field, and he's brought down by Sam Jaredot.
Yeah, if you take a look at this, you know, from a high angle and see what Rogan Wells is seeing here. And he's going to come back. He's got a nice little play action, but there's nowhere to go with the football. So he does the smart thing, right? You don't want to risk it. You're in the red area. Don't throw the ball up into coverage. Take what you can get. You're +1 now instead of potentially turning the ball over or having a -6 sack.
Now from the 31-yard line, the handoff to Tompkins, and Tompkins continuing to find little holds. Jamar Tompkins, the redshirt freshman out of Miami, Florida, picks up 7.
And that's a big gain now, because 3rd and 3 is a whole different ball game than anything 3rd and 7 plus. So it's opened up the playbook here for Kerwin Bell and Cade Bell, the offensive coordinator at Valdosta State. This is an opportunity for them to get momentum back. And Coach Bell said to us this week, when we have momentum, we have to seize it and we have to keep it. Right now, they don't have the momentum.
Penalty marker on the field.
Not sure what they called here, Tiffany. There's 7 seconds left on the play clock, so it can't be delay of game. Both the back judge and the side judge have thrown their flags.
So we'll hear from Brad Carroll.
There is no foul.
That's what we said.
That's exactly what we thought.
We looked for one, but we couldn't find one.
And so now Valdosta State trying to answer here after Ferris State had an 80-yard, one-play touchdown on their opening drive here in this D2 National Championship. McGill with the carry up ahead, and he's a guy who adds an extra dimension to this running game, complimenting Tompkins.
You see how quick he got through that hole now. He isn't very big. He's kind of like a little jackrabbit in cleats, right? He's about 5'9", barely 185 pounds, but he gets from 0 to 60 in a hurry. So he is, you're right, he's a compliment to Tompkins with a little bit of a thunder and lightning aspect.
1st and 10 from the 21. Blazers continuing to drive, marching into Bulldogs territory, closing in on that red zone, going for it all. And the catch is made by Leandre Gallimore. The 21-yard strike to Gallimore puts Valdosta State on the board with a chance to tie.
Well, there's your answer, Tiffany. Momentum back onto the sideline of the black jerseys for now.
Big Mo is so important, and it will be traded all throughout this game. I'm sure, again, we expected to see two of the best offenses in Division II put up a lot of points. Right now, we're at 13, and now 14 points here in this first quarter, and plenty more likely to be added.
This is a double post concept between the two slot receivers. The first post kicks the coverage out. Second post is right there for a touchdown for the Blazers here in the Division II National Championship.
The NCAA Division II Football Championship, brought to you by McDonald's.
On each hash mark, that means the number of touchdowns that Route Campbell has been responsible for this season. And for more on that, we send it down to Alex.
Tiffany, Route Campbell has accounted for 47 touchdowns this season for Ferris State. He has been stellar. His dual threat abilities have been on display. So to display those footballs, to pick up all of them off the field, we needed not one, but two heavy-duty trash cans. Take a look over here. These bins are totally filled up. We'll see if Route can add to this today, but how about this? We don't need Oscar the Grouch. We got footballs in these trash cans.
So when you got up at about 5 a.m. to line those on the field, how long did it take you?
Too long.
Safe answer there as Dion Earls on the return for Ferris State. So Route Campbell, first team All-American for the Bulldogs. We mentioned out of Cass Tech in Detroit. You see 47 touchdowns and how that matches up with all the other guys that play football on the Division I level in FBS.
Well, not only that, 20 of them are on the ground. And when you look at him in terms of physical stature, you say, okay, this is a classic drop-back thrower. You don't realize how well he can run. And I think that even surprised head coach Tony Anise once he got him in the fold.
After the play, personal foul, kicking team, number 55, 15 yards from the end of the run, first down.
Dante Carpenter on the personal foul penalty, and I know that's not going to make Kerwin Bell too happy at all. That moves now Ferris State across midfield. Great starting field position.
And what's it take away? Momentum.
Yeah.
You come off and you score. You look like you make a great tackle inside the 30-yard line. And now the offensive series for Ferris State, who scored in their first play of their opening stanza, is inside the 50-yard line.
80 yards to tie their longest play from scrimmage this season. Let's see what they come back out with on their second possession. It's whistled before anything got started, and likely a false start.
Looks like we're going to have a false start on the left side of the offensive line.
False start. Offense, number 68, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Tyler Allison, the left guard, out of Clinton Township, Michigan. For those skill positions on the other side for the Bulldogs, Dion Earls, we see him a speedy guy along with Keandre Craig as well at wide receiver. In motion is Shaw and Campbell running. And he's brought down just near the 42-yard line. The Big Hogs protecting him up front at left tackle is Devin Johnson, an All-American, All-Region first team as well, and a guy who many believe could perhaps play at the next level when you look at his measurables.
Yeah, 6'7", 310 pounds. A really experienced guy as well.
Marvin Campbell cutting through the middle, and a solid run and pickup on first down. That moves the chains as well, a gain of 16.
Coach Tony Anise for Ferris State described him as being low, powerful, and very compact, which means he may be on the shorter side, but he's not small. And so very nice run right there. And of course, you get the big quarterback run for 6 yards after the penalty. You just keep it on the ground. Now you find yourself with a fresh set of downs, driving the ball the way you want to.
Man in motion. Campbell looking for Craig. Found him. But so did the Blazers defense. Steven Denmark was right there and looking at their front seven, bringing pressure. You like the guy by the name of Joseph Mazzone.
Yeah, I think he is a load to handle at the defensive tackle position. He's got some Division I traits about him, and this is also a pressure defense. They're going to come after you, probably more so than most of the teams that Ferris State's seen so far this year.
Out to Earls, and Earls quickly wrapped up and brought down for a loss. Right there was Raymond Palmer, one of the leaders of that secondary.
And this secondary is an eclectic group. You've got Raymond Palmer there, who's a captain, a safety, suffered some tragedy here in the next week. We'll get into that a little bit here in our broadcast. But the two corners, Dorius Dotson and Steven Denmark, and then Riverius Rivers. Rivers and Denmark are former wide receivers that have transitioned to corner and played really, really good football.
And Route Campbell getting it out to Campbell. Marvin, that is, again, nowhere to go. So fast on defense are the Blazers.
When you watch these two teams on tape, I think that's the one thing that stands out that was going to be the greatest challenge, is how does Ferris State match up with the team speed of Valdosta State? When we asked Coach Anise, you said it to him yesterday, of all the teams you've played, who does Valdosta remind you of? And he said nobody. We haven't played anybody like these guys. So that's a real telltale sign from a coach who's undefeated coming into the game. Absolutely.
The athleticism that they bring. He said, well, maybe Grand Valley State, and that's a no-no word when you're talking about Ferris State, because that's one of their rivals. 52-yard field goal attempt is up and good. Jackson Dieterle puts Ferris State back on top. Not too often do you see 52-yard field goals made, huh?
Wow, he crushed this one, and a much-needed kick after what was a 2 steps forward, 1 step back series for Ferris State on the board, 10-7.
First time two undefeated teams have been in the D2 National Championship in 3 years, and Valdosta State is had a terrific season thus far, 13-0, and we talk about how great they are on offense. They put up 52 points a game to lead Division I. And the engineer of that offense, Rogan Wells, their defense pretty solid as well, 7 TDs, and they're seeking their 4th Division II national championship, trying to bring home the hardware for the first time since 2012.
Yeah, 7 defensive touchdowns will up that per game point average, I'll tell you that.
And Benjamin watches this one sail over his head. So Valdosta State will start this drive at the 25-yard line. Rogan Wells has now had a passing touchdown in every game this season to bring the total to 34 on the year behind Route Campbell. They scored on their last possession. We'll see if this high-powered offense can get it going again. But you have to credit Ferris State's defense thus far, Tom.
Yeah, they have held up. They've really only given up 1 play of over 20 yards. That was the concern, is how do we limit the explosive plays? Because that's what Valdosta State has been all year long. And the clocks run pretty quickly. That benefits Ferris State.
Rolling out to his right, Rogan Wells throwing, trying to find his man, and completes the pass to Brian Sons. Sons, the sophomore they like to call Buzz, out of Darien, Georgia.
We're going to call him Grandpa, though, right?
Yeah. What an amazing journey he's had. We talked about he goes from high school, not really recruited, then to the Army National Guard, then he goes and is a high school assistant, and then says, hey, coach, I think I could play for you. Would you give me a spot?
He was attending junior college but not playing football while he's coaching high school football, and comes to an open tryout. And so here he sits, and he's been one of the go-to guys. If you look at the receivers, Tiffany, on this team, it's not like you've got one guy with 75 catches and a bunch of guys in the teens. You've got catches from Sons, 34, all right? You've got Leandre Gilmore, 32. David White's got 18, and they just spread the ball around. They don't target individuals. They attack areas of the field with spreading the ball horizontally and spreading it vertically.
Five of 10 for Wells. The handoff here to Ivory Durham. Durham, one of the backup quarterbacks for the Blazers. But we go back to Brian Sons, a guy who last year was a 21-year-old freshman. He served some time in the Army National Guard on the right side and the darker camouflage. And Sons, who has been a great addition to this team, and his unconventional journey has been one that I've enjoyed learning about.
Well, when they timed him in the 40, they said, okay, we'll take him. We'll take him. He is in the 4.4s routinely.
3rd and 4 now, as Valdosta State has been 4 of 5. Pretty effective here today as Ferris State spins a timeout, and that was a concern coming in, given the fact that last week we mentioned they didn't even convert on a first down in that first half of that national semifinal game last week. Well, for Ferris State, how they made it here, they had to take down a lot of foes, going 15-0 in the season. 272 rushing yards, but more impressively, they were able to capture the Great Lakes Intercollegiate Athletic Conference Championship. And Tony Anise, the conference coach of the year, picked up his 300th career win last weekend as they took down the highly favored Minnesota State group in Mankato, nonetheless.
And here they are in sunny McKinney, Texas, where it's 60 degrees. On a fine December 15th of 2018, and playing for a national championship.
Third and 4 for the Blazers. Rogan Wells keeps it himself, eyeing them all the way down where the Bulldogs. Did he get enough to pick up the first down? We will see. I think so.
He did. The ball came loose late, and head linesman on our side of the field immediately blew it dead. This is a quarterback counter. Let's see if the ball is neat. Oh!
Javon Bell was bringing him to the ground, and let's see, did he pop it loose before he hit?
Certainly
I think it looks like it, yeah.
Certainly looks like it.
Valdosta State may have gotten lucky there, as right into the hands of Kenny Benjamin, and Benjamin picks up the first down, and once more Blazers are in the red zone.
Very well thrown ball there by Rogan Wells, and smart to snap it quickly because that play should have been reviewed. That ball, I believe, was out by Rogan Wells on the previous play. It was skipping across the carpet there, but quick snap here and a nice conversion there for a first down.
Well, it was Ferris State who jumped on the board first. The answer from the Blazers, and now Valdosta State trying to take the lead when you come back to this D2 National Championship. (10-7) as we're about to start the second quarter in this D2 National Championship, and Valdosta State, also known as Title Town, trying to bring home their 4th championship. And a few players have made it from the Division II level to the NFL. Malcolm Butler out of West Alabama, Adam Thielen out of Minnesota State in his home state.
Just brought his uniform with him.
Yeah, no problem at all. And then Tariq Hill out of West Alabama as well, now with the Kansas City Chiefs, the Red Hot Chiefs as well. So we could very well see the next talent making it to the big leagues on the field here today. Certainly Rogan Wells has had a great season thus far. The sophomore has his group in the red zone. Plenty of time in the pocket, not finding anybody. Austin Edwards got a hand on him, able to shred him, and wisely throws it away.
Well, that is a really smart play there by Rogan Wells. Number one, he's working through his progressions as he's coached to do. Comes under duress a little bit. Once he gets away, don't risk the football in that situation. Understand where you are on the field. Throws the ball away, live the play the next down, minimize risk.
To start in this second quarter, you see Valdosta State has really had the ball for the majority of this game thus far, over 11 minutes and counting. This Bulldogs defense has been on the field quite a bit already. Wells following Tompkins along that left side is brought down, a pickup of 3. DeLon Stevenson is there, the first-year standout.
Little quarterback lead counter here with the tailback. Jamar Tompkins is the lead back, and see defensively, number 11, Javon Bell, who wasn't even a starter for this Ferris State defense when the season started because he's not a good practice player. Even Coach Tony Anise said, he's one of those guys you got to get to the flow of the game and realize, all right, we have to play this guy because he's just not that guy that shows up in practice. Made a big tackle there. That could have been a touchdown. And now a big decision here because this isn't an offense with big, tall receivers, Tiffany, so you don't just have jump ball options down here.
Wells into the end zone and finds his man at the back of the end zone in Kenny Benjamin. 9-yard score, and just like that, Valdosta State has grabbed the lead back.
Well, this offense really seems to like the corner route. We've seen them throw it in the field for big gains so far here this afternoon. And on that one, a touchdown into a tight window into the boundary top of your field. Very impressive throw.
Andrew Gray on to attempt the extra point. And a penalty marker comes out on the PAT.
Got an encroachment here, it looks like, on behalf of Ferris State on defense.
Offside. Defense. Number 12. That penalty's declined. The try is good.
Okay. You're going to see number 4 right here, out of the slot route. He's just going to run your corner route. He's going to get up vertical. And again, I said the receivers aren't very big, but look how explosive he is. At 5'7", Kenny Benjamin, that's a lot of space created through quickness and explosiveness to separate as a route runner. I think Ferris State defensively was expecting the corner up to the top of the field to maybe sink back and take that route away and force the underneath throw, and that didn't happen. Good anticipation by Rogan Wells.
And Benjamin, in a small frame, as you mentioned, just 5'7", about 178 yards, but a very versatile player for Kerwin Bell and this Blazers offense. 8 plays, 75 yards, just about 3:15 ticked off the clock on that last scoring drive for Valdosta State. They lead 14-10. Earls collects it and is smacked just across the 20-yard line. Well, it's bowl season, and tonight at 9 Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app, Middle Tennessee State takes on Appalachian State from the Superdome in the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. I love it.
Good job,
Bowl
Rick.
games start
already.
off the day start at 12 o'clock and they continuously go. You can just continue to feast on it, not only over Christmas but throughout the new year. Derek Portis to the right in the backfield with Campbell. The handoff to Portis. Portis slithering up the middle, and he's brought down as he's body slammed by Riverius Rivers, the redshirt junior out of Georgia, one of those big hitters for the Blazers.
Yeah, again, another one of those players that was a wide receiver, just didn't maybe have great ball skills, but had a good skill set to transition over to defense, and has transitioned well. Second team All-American after playing safety for the first time in his career.
The fake from Campbell, he keeps it, and he's met by a bevy of black jerseys and brought down just near the 41-yard line.
It's important for this Ferris State offense to be able to effectively run the football in early downs, because Valdosta State, they want to pressure you. They want to get you on your heels, but it's tough to do that if you're struggling to stop the run on the early downs. So second and short, ideal for where you want to be if you're Ferris State.
Portis once again, and cannot escape the speed on the outside by Raymond Palmer. Palmer, who moved to corner last week, suffered great tragedy, as you alluded to earlier. Tom lost his dad last week, was able to still play in the game as they had the funeral this week, and then they flew him here yesterday.
Got a standing ovation from his teammates when he arrived.
And Marvin Campbell picks up the first down.
All the best to Raymond Palmer and his family. I can't imagine, number one, losing a loved one like that. Playing in the game just a few days after, then leaving your team to go to a funeral, come back and you're playing in a national championship. What a special young man.
The idea of harnessing all of those emotions.
Yep.
And Campbell just missed his man, Malik Taylor. Taylor was one of those threats the last 2 years in this offense, the leading receiver all conference last year, but he's missed most of the year because of a hamstring injury, but they're glad to have him back. He's been back now. This is his 5th game.
Coach Tony Anise felt like that he was the one NFL type guy that they had in terms of their offensive skill, and they really shut him down the second half of the season and then saved him for the playoffs, which has been a smart move.
And they continue to keep it on the ground. Thus far, Tom, Route Campbell has been held at bay. We talked about him being the basically D2 version of the Heisman Trophy winner in that Harlan Hill Award. 3 for 4 today and -9 yards passing.
Yeah, when you're not having the type of success that you're accustomed to having, you can get frustrated. And the offense all of a sudden sputters a little bit, and you're not used to that. So they've got to get out of this funk a little bit. Now you'll find out a little bit about his maturity and ability to handle adversity.
And a pass right there and just through the hands of Devontae Harrington.
This is all about feet, Tiffany. Accuracy at the quarterback position starts from the ground up. When you watch Route Campbell's feet, you see the nice little fake off of that, but you see how stiff his front left leg is. He never steps into the throw, doesn't drive off of his back foot. And really the last 2 throws he's made have been like that, and as a result have been off target. Part of the woes for this offense today.
Ferris State punts it away. Brian Sons watches it continue to bounce, and he wasn't able to recover it. The ball is loose. Who has it? Ferris State, a huge play on special teams for the Bulldogs.
What special teams, Tiffany, so important. Get rid of just get away from the football. Brian Sons, who's been so reliable, has been a guy that they can count on. Should have been nowhere near that football. So now you all of a sudden pump the ball, you've flipped field position, and you've put your offense on a short field because of a mishap in the kicking game for Valdosta State.
Jacob Allen, number 47 in white, was right in front of Sons as he was trying to field it. He's the one who recovered the fumble.
What prompted him to even go forward on that football? The poor decision in the return area.
So the Bulldogs offense back on the field, now in striking distance. Man in motion. And it's Route Campbell who's trying to take it into his own hands. He's got the first down, and they're within 2 yards of the goal line.
No, anytime you have that jet sweep action coming across, that widens the defense. And that creates wider gaps inside for Route Campbell. That was very well executed up front by Ferris State. But you see the influence of what that jet sweep action does to open up things inside.
They like to score in the red zone, and they do! Campbell on the 2-yard scamper. And grabbing that momentum right back are the Bulldogs.
Very important drive, Tiffany. As we mentioned, Ferris State, Route Campbell, the Harlan Hill Trophy winner, was struggling. They couldn't seem to kind of get into rhythm, and then you get a spark from a kicking game mishap. You recover the ball, 2 big plays on the ground from the quarterback, and a little bit more confidence going to the sideline.
Dieterle on to attempt the extra point, and it's good. 17-14, Ferris State, and Route Campbell taking advantage after the mishap on special teams coming through. Number 7 in white punches it in. Happy holidays from McKinney, Texas. The D2 National Championship going down. And look, a great quarterback duel. We mentioned it in the beginning. Now what does Rogan Wells do?
Yeah, he's got to answer the toll. You know, he's started off sputtering a little bit and has really responded in the latter part of the first quarter and the early going here of the second quarter. Really good throw here on the corner route in the end zone. Good anticipation, timing, a nice route there by his intended target, Kenny Benjamin. So this offense getting hot a little bit. I think Valdosta State, they're so, not that they're an up-tempo offense, Tiffany, but they are so accustomed to scoring quickly that when they've had to sustain drives, you can become a little impatient. And that's not the norm for them. So for him to settle down and just realize, hey, we might have to earn it a little bit more against these guys.
Very few times where they've actually trailed in a game this season. They're used to being out ahead. Last week was one of those times, as well as Benjamin collects it, and they'll start at just about the 30-yard line. But you go back to last week and you say, okay, for Notre Dame College, you know, they take on a group where they were in an unfamiliar spot.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you have to go all the way back to Bowie State a couple weeks ago in the playoffs where they trailed 10-0 then.
Right.
And prior to that, they had not really been tested or challenged outside of week 3 against West Alabama. Best starting field position for the Blazers in this game. And Tompkins with the carry as we send it down to Alex.
Tiffany, Tom, one of the things that Kerwin Bell told us yesterday, that one of the keys for his team was going to be keeping the momentum. We obviously saw just there that Valdosta State did not do that, but it'll be interesting to see how Rogan Wells responds.
Yeah, Alex, it's kind of been back and forth. Nobody's been able to sustain it. They'll steal it from one another a little bit. But this is a big drive for Valdosta State to see if they can have an answer.
Going downfield, and he finds Gallimore. What a pass and catch. Touchdown, Valdosta State.
Well, another theft of momentum there, Alex and Tiffany. Just as we're talking about it happens.
66-yard touchdown by Leandre Gallimore. Coach Kerwin Bell is definitely pleased.
You know, and they say that they teach that. They're not a team that teaches the 50-50 ball, jump up and catch it when you're contested. They teach the over-the-shoulder, drop the ball in, allow the receiver to track and run underneath it. That's how they coach it. That's how they teach it. That's how they practice it. That was a prime example of it right there.
Centel Williams on the coverage, but Gallimore showing off his Miami speed, beating out the defender, and Valdosta State is able to get on the board. Rogan Wells is definitely happy about it. Leandre Gallimore making him look good.
The NCAA Division II Football Championship. Brought to you by Dove Men Plus Care. Care makes a man stronger.
Couple of undefeated teams going head-to-head, trying to take home that beauty right there, the D2 National Championship trophy, and it's Valdosta State who gets back on top 21-17. You talk about a quick strike offense and how prolific they've been. That's the 20th play of the season that they've scored in under a minute.
And that's what they're accustomed to, and that's what I was mentioning earlier about when you have to sustain drives and you're used to being able to just score at will, you can get frustrated, you become impatient. It was a really nice series there for them to kind of get back to what they know and what they do. And Ferris State's going to have to make adjustments because they do not match up well with Valdosta State's speed on the offensive side.
20 plays, 70 yards in just 40 seconds as Dion Earls takes a knee in the end zone. Well, we talk about, yeah, sure, Valdosta State can strike quickly, but so is Ferris State. They've done that today on their first play of the game, 80 yards in 28 seconds. The second possession, or excuse me, the last possession that they had, 13 seconds.
Yeah, 13 seconds, capitalizing on the turnover in the kicking game. Now I want to see if they can sustain some consistency on offense and mount a drive. That's where Route Campbell has been a little off schedule so far today. They've struggled to maintain consistency on offense.
And Campbell, who ran it in for 2 yards on that last possession. Now we may see a little bit more of Campbell in the running game as well. Racked up better than 1,300 yards on the ground this season coming into today, and now the first team All-American is showing why he is a dual threat.
I'd keep running him on the ground until Valdosta State is forced to add another member into the box to defend the run. Right now, nobody in the middle of the field defensively.
And that's what they do. They keep the ball with Campbell, but the Blazers defense is ready. They bottle him up. A pickup of 1. Craig Watts in on the tackle.
It's a lot of team speed for Valdosta State on defense, and not a very big group. But with Joseph Mazzone, number 75, the tackle, and then some of their linebackers, very speedy, just not very big. Guys like Craig Watts and Jamion Gaskin, just 5'11", 219 pounds.
Third down. The toss out to Robert Thomas, and Thomas near the marker, and he picks up the first down. Tom, when you're looking at these Division II programs, what's the difference from Division I and the FBS level and the FCS levels as it relates to scholarships?
Well, really, you've got the FBS level, and that's going to be 85 scholarships. Those are all or none. Then you've got the FCS level, and you've got 63 scholarships that can be split up. They're not all or none. And at this level here, as we see Route Campbell taking off to run once again in a wise decision, at the Division II level, you have 36 scholarships, of which almost all of them are split up. So you see this 36 number down here? Most programs at the Division II level are going to provide full scholarships to interior players, the defensive front and the offensive front, because what? That's where championships are won. And then they're going to divide up their scholarships amongst the other players on their team. So when you consider a Division I bounce back transfer, somebody that's been at a Division I school and they're not working out, they're looking for a place to go, you're going to have to offer a full scholarship to that player because there's going to be competition for that player. So it's almost like running a spreadsheet, Tiffany, all the time on trying to figure out, all right, who's getting books, who's getting tuition, who's getting meals, who's under full, and you got to manage it.
Injured player down on the field for Valdosta State, Alex Williams. Kerwin Bell coming on to check on his player. Will step aside quickly here from McKinney. Saturday, December 29th on ESPN and the ESPN app. It's the games you've been waiting for, the college football playoff semifinals at 4 Eastern. Third-ranked Notre Dame battles number 2 Clemson in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, followed by the Capital One Orange Bowl as number 4 Oklahoma faces the number 1 team in the country in Alabama. And Tom, I can't wait to get your thoughts on those matchups.
I'll give them to you right after this play.
I love the tease of making the viewer wait to see just exactly what Tom Luginbill is thinking right now.
Got to dangle the carrot. And look, if they're taking long to snap the ball,
there it is.
The tension is climbing.
Campbell with a short run, but then looks like he's dragged down out of bounds. No penalty flag coming out as he had Isaiah Staten wrapped all over him.
All right, so let's get to those college football playoff matchups. I think one of the interesting things about the Notre Dame-Clemson matchup is that with Notre Dame, everybody talks about Ian Book, but I think Dexter Williams has been the biggest difference. That has been a team that has effectively run the football, essentially at will, but nobody's been able to run it against Clemson. So something's got to give there. And then to have the Heisman Trophy winner in Kyler Murray versus the Heisman Trophy runner-up, the number 1 team versus the number 4 team, all in one matchup, and the kryptonite of Nick Saban, a running quarterback, it doesn't get any better than that.
You mentioned the Heisman Trophy winner in Kyler Murray. He's from nearby Allen, Texas, just down the road, and so they are proud of in Texas of that young man and what he's been able to do this season.
We had Kyler Murray in the Under Armour All-America game, and I remember talking with our staff when we were evaluating the quarterbacks, and as a group, we all kind of looked at each other and said, if this guy was 4 inches taller, he might be the best, most complete quarterback that we had seen come out of the high school ranks in maybe a decade. And I had an opportunity with our crew on Saturdays to see Oklahoma take on Iowa State at Iowa State. And I walked away from that game and I couldn't believe I was saying it to myself, but I said, this Oklahoma team is actually better with Kyler Murray than they were with Baker Mayfield. And I truly believe in saying this, if he was 4 inches taller, he'd be the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft.
Yeah, but you also have to show some love and see the success of some of the shorter quarterbacks, if you will, in the league. Russell Wilson is one of them. Yeah,
Tiffany, you might have a half an inch on him, okay?
But you can't measure his heart, right?
Oh, no, he's got all the other stuff, man. I'm telling you, he's got all the things you can't coach. Both of those quarterbacks, Tua and Kyler.
So after the timeout, Route Campbell finds Malik Taylor, and Taylor with a collision, but he's good for the first down. Campbell's first pass for positive yards of the game.
We got another injured player here.
I think that was Raymond Palmer who was in on the tackle. He may have collided with Malik Taylor.
Malik Taylor's one of the few kids that's a big kid out there. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. And not a lot of size, as we've referenced on defense. A lot of team speed for Valdosta State, but not a lot of size. I tell you, I don't care if it's Division II whether it's the FCS level, the FBS level. I don't know why anybody in their right mind would want to coach defense in today's landscape of college football. I mean, I remember the old days when you gave up 350 yards as a defensive coordinator, they fired you. Now you could give up 500 yards a game and still win the game. I mean, that has got to be a nightmare to coach defense in today's climate at any level.
Danny Verpel, the DC for Valdosta State. Well, just a reminder to our viewers that the FCS football champion will be crowned on Saturday, January 5th at noon Eastern in Frisco, Texas on ESPN2. For more information, go to NCAA.com, the official online home for all 90 NCAA championships. And that matchup is going to be a good one between North Dakota State and Eastern Washington. The Bison have been in the championship where they've won 6 of the last 7. I mean, they are just a powerhouse.
Oh, they really are. And what a great hire by Kansas State. Just the right type of guy in Chris Kleiman. And he's earned that elevated move.
That game not over yet, but Eastern Washington likely to punch their ticket. They're up 50-19. As Deion Earls finds a lot of space along that right side, and he's able to tiptoe out just near the 9-yard line. So Ferris State, you talk about sustained drives.
Right.
This is the 9th play coming up of this drive.
And they've had some nice wrinkles. Their first wrinkle was the double pass that resulted in the touchdown. And then Deion Earls here on the end around, using his speed. Again, not very big, but a lot of speed and quickness. So I like some of the things that Ferris State has come in, knowing they have to compensate for Valdosta State's speed, have been executed very well here this afternoon.
Marvin Campbell lined up in the backfield. Route Campbell keeping it going up the middle. And did he lose the football? Valdosta State is saying yes. The officials coming in to make the call. And the Bulldogs look to recover it.
Let's get a look here, and he did lose that football way prior to going to the ground.
Darius Smalls, number 99, looked to have gotten a hand on it as he was wrapping him up.
Tough to tell that. That was amongst a lot of bodies, lots of legs, and lots of elbows.
Second and goal. Cy Barnett in motion. Rolling to his left, Route Campbell looking down, goes to the back of the end zone, and it was nearly picked off as Taurus Dotson was right there.
So they wanted to get into the flat to Wyatt Plett here, and number 6, and he's covered, but boy, what an ill-advised throw in the red area. You're throwing across your body if you're Route Campbell, the Ferris State quarterback. Very fortunate to not have that ball intercepted.
Third and goal, and what do you call here, Tom?
Third and goal here. I would continue to go with the play-action pass. They've been very successful with the jet sweep motion, trying to create some space. But if they do that, quarterback run here is not out of the question. They've been very successful in the red area.
Man in motion, talking about that jet sweep. There's the handoff. Devontae Harrington finds the end zone. Boy, you look like a smart man right now, Tom.
It's been very successful on what has been a very impressive balance of run to pass in this drive. As you referenced, Tiffany, this is the first time we've seen them sustain a drive, and that jet sweep action has really strained this Valdosta State defense sideline to sideline.
Harrington rushing for the number on his jersey, 8, to get into the end zone. The extra point on the way. 24-21, Ferris State with the lead.
Devontae Harrington on the jet sweep, and he's got a convoy in front of him for Ferris State's answer to go back up ahead here in the national championship.
24-21 with 5:09 remaining before the half, and this is a barn burner really between these two teams, and that's exactly what we expected. Devontae Harrington capping off an 11-play, 75-yard drive to put the Bulldogs back ahead.
So far, what we've had here, we've had 5 lead changes. We've gone back and forth with momentum swings. For the most part, outside of the kicking game play, we've had very clean football by 2 very well-coached football teams, well-prepared teams today.
Benjamin just past the 35-yard line, and he's brought down. Well, Valdosta State thus far today, this is how they've started and where they've ended the last 3 possessions with a touchdown.
When we began our broadcast this afternoon, Tiffany, we talked about the explosive plays of 20 yards or more. Valdosta State already has 6, and we've got 5 minutes to go here in the second quarter. Somehow Ferris State's going to have to change some things up because they don't match up well with Valdosta State's speed outside. They've given up way too many big plays in the passing game downfield.
Seth McGill bounces outside. McGill is dragged down by Avante Bell, second team all-conference and also second best in tackles and sacks for this group.
I just loved hearing head coach Tony Anise talk about him. But yeah, he didn't really start for us in the early part of the season. And well, why was that, coach? He didn't play good in practice. He didn't practice good. And then he got into the games and he started watching the tape. We got to play this guy. And some guys are just like that. But it's hard to get on the field if you're not going to have the same practice habits that you have when you're playing in the game.
Bell just flips a switch when he gets on, and they say it's hard to switch off when he's on there, and that's a good thing. That's what they want. As Wells looking around, he does his check down to Seth McGill, and is that something that you're impressed with in terms of his progression this season? Very much so, and that's a little bit of the multiple pro style approach that Kerwin Bell has in this offense to mix with some of the spread elements. He has 4 and 5 read progressions. Pre-snap, though, you're probably going to eliminate the first 2, and then it just came down to a 3-man read with the check down being right in front of him. Very good patience there by Rogan Wells. McGill on the carry and really nowhere to go as he ran into Deshaun Thrower. Nowhere to go to the tune of a nice 5-yard gain, though. I'm telling you right now, Kerwin Bell will take that every single time offensively. He's a guy that wants to throw it. I think that's what's impressive about quarterback, coordinator, head coach guys. What do they want to do? They want to throw the ball, but the really good ones going to run the football. I mean, Steve Spurrier, a lot of people don't realize, Steve Spurrier, his best 3 teams at Florida when he was the head coach, led the SEC in rushing. But everybody thinks of him as the fun and gun. The good quarterback coaches and coordinators run the football. Well, the ability to run really does open up the passing game as well. Stepping back and finds Stewart Spence, and Spence takes a lick from Stevenson, but he picks up the first down. This is a guy in Stewart Spence who tore his ACL 5 games ago. He's coming up with the big reception here. Listen to this cackle. Doink. DeLon Stevenson, who Ferris State feels is their best secondary player, is their nickel defender, being forced to play in a linebacker role. Sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail. And McGill cuts up, but there's a penalty marker on the field. This one in the area of a hold.
Personal foul. Hands to the face. Defense. Number 91. That penalty's half the distance to the goal. And an automatic first down.
Really seeing that called more and more, whether it's in run downs, whether it's in passing downs. And if you look at the left guard on offense and you see the hands to the face right up here, and that's exactly where they got it. It's a nice call by the umpire that's standing right behind it. Got to stay away from that head and neck area up underneath the face mask there. Extends this drive for Valdosta State on offense. So Austin Simpson, guilty party for Ferris State, trots off. And now
Deep in the Bulldogs territory, Rogan Wells tucks it, runs, and he's brought down after a pickup of 1. Centel Williams in on the stop.
That's kind of the in vogue play in college football right now when you've got an athletic quarterback to have the motion going opposite of where you want to go and then pulling your guard, pulling your tackle, pulling maybe your tackle and your H-back, which ends up becoming quarterback counter. And now, you know, you're almost having to play 11 on 11 instead of 11 on 10. When the quarterback can run, you got to play all 11. And that creates real challenges for defenses.
Wells with time, surveys this man, and wow! What a hit. Holding on to the football is Seth McGill as a flag comes out, and DeLon Stevenson was the one who laid the lick.
Remember I told you sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail? Yeah. That time he was the hammer. Let's see if they decide this is a potential targeting foul or not.
Personal foul. Targeting. Defense. Number 1. Under the review.
Let's see if some of the points when it comes to targeting. That's going to be very, very interesting. Does he lead to the head or neck area? Does he crouch? Does he launch?
I didn't feel like he launched, but he did lower his head a little bit and
led with the shoulder, though.
Yeah. I honestly think it was just a good hit as he goes down, and then McGill kind of pops up. From that, what do you say, Tom?
I actually may say no in the sense that his helmet is well below the head or neck area. The shoulder pad is up, but he led with the shoulder. He didn't lead with the crown of his helmet. I don't believe this is going to be I think this is going to be overruled, which will be a big deal defensively. You've got shoulder-to-shoulder contact, not contact with the crown of the helmet in a launching or crouching mold and going up towards the head or neck area. So let's see what the officials come back with here. Now, this would be big because, as we talked about, DeLon Stevenson, Ferris State's probably best secondary player, particularly as a nickel, as you take a look at the targeting rule there, Tiffany.
Yeah, 15-yard penalty and an ejection when targeting is called for a forcible contact to the head or neck area. And as you mentioned, Tom, it didn't look like he thrust it forward. Let's see what they call.
Review. There is no targeting.
And I'm in agreement with that call as we look back at it. It just looked like it was just a really good and solid hit.
Yeah, it was. And listen, these types of plays, the bang-bang play, it's so hard to coach it during the week in practice because you're trying to maintain the health of your own team, yet you're trying to teach proper tackling techniques, which have changed dramatically. It's changed the way that we've practiced. It's changed the way that we drill, how we approach ball carriers. But I actually think that was a good utilization of the rule there by the officiating crew.
A big third down coming up for Valdosta State. First third down of this drive. Rogan Wells hands it off to Tompkins, and Tompkins tried to sneak into the end zone, and I think he's going to be close to that first down. I believe he picks it up, and it's going to be 1st and goal.
1st and goal inside the 1. Merry Christmas. Who doesn't want that under their tree each and every year?
So this could be big for Valdosta State as Ferris State will receive it in the second half.
Very good use of the clock here, too, as well, by Valdosta State on offense, understanding the game and the part of the field they're in.
Tompkins trying to push forward, but he stood up.
I'd call a timeout here if I'm... And they do. All right.
Austin Edwards in on the stop, so a timeout taken by the Blazers. And just a reminder, coming up at halftime, a conversation with the Heisman Trophy winner, Kyler Murray, plus images of the year and first half analysis. That's coming up And just about 30 seconds on the clock here from McKinney.
Kyler Murray, he's such a, both he and Tua Tagovailoa, and really Dwayne Haskins for that matter, getting to know all three of those guys as they went through the recruiting process. They're very quiet, mild-mannered kids, but highly competitive. Don't mistake their demeanor for their level of competitiveness, because what you see in all three of those players is whether it's good or bad, they maintain an even keel. And they're managing their emotions. And you know what? Your team responds to that. Wait, our leader's not panicked? Okay, well, we're good. All right. And so you can't be a what I call a yo-yo player. You're up one series, down the next. Up one series, down the next. And all three of those finalists, I think, exhibit those traits.
And Kerwin Bell says he's seeing some of that leadership develop in his sophomore quarterback in Rogan Wells. And now, 2nd and goal from the 1. Wells decides to keep it. Is he able to sneak in? I don't know. A lot of white jerseys. And he's held up just short. Well, that defensive front from Ferris State is holding steady right now.
Two inside players, 6'4", 305, 6'4", 295, and their edge guys, 6'5", 275, and 6'5", 270. And talking with Tony Anise, the head coach at Ferris State, he said, our defensive line is built for this style of play. We want to be stout at the point of attack, not get moved off the football, and that's exactly what's happening here.
Austin Edwards was in on that stop, one of the leaders along that line for Ferris State. And this is going to be under review as to whether Rogan Wells made it into the end zone. From our angle up top, it looked like just before he crossed it looked like he was maybe pushed back a little bit, but we'll see how far he was able to lean forward.
Too tough to tell there because you can't tell where the ball is, and if the ball was able to break the plane off of that angle. Off of that angle, I agree with the mark of the side judge and the head linesman without being able to see any further evidence to the contrary.
When you look at this Ferris State defense and the fact that they weren't going to be able to perhaps keep up with the speed of Valdosta State, how impressed are you?
The call on the field stands. 3rd down.
With the way they've been able to stand up these Blazers in those tight situations.
Well, I think it helps them actually being backed up against their own end zone, because now they don't have as much field to cover. They can really focus on the box, realizing that their secondary is a little bit protected by the back end line and the two sidelines, of course. So that might kind of fit into the mold of this Ferris State defense. Keep in mind, this is a Ferris State defense that lost 15 seniors off of last year's team. Coach Tony Anise didn't even imagine that they would have the type of defense that's put forth the effort to have an undefeated team. So it shows you the depth that Ferris State has as well.
Jamil Pollard, number 44, the defensive tackle, the only one returning. And Tompkins moves ahead. And we're waiting for the signal as Ferris State comes out with it. But still, it looks like...
Clock is running.
Yeah.
Somebody better call a timeout. There we go. Kerwin Bell is upset, and he should be. He thinks it's a touchdown, and while everybody's discussing it, the clock's running down.
Ran all the way down to 2 seconds. And did he get in or not? Can we get another look at that? Because it looked like Tompkins may have been able to sneak underneath. I thought it looked like he may have gotten in there.
The previous play is further review.
Now, if the review is off of that angle, now this angle may be an entirely different story. That's still very, very difficult to tell. Now, it looks like he's over, but is there indisputable video evidence to reverse the call on the field? This will be our best angle. I think that's a touchdown.
I think so, too. I thought he snuck in.
But, boy, that is a tough call because those angles are not as definitive as you would like them to be, yet in at least 2 of those 4 angles, he looks like he's over.
Yeah.
This is going to be a very, very difficult call for the replay officials.
And remember, the call on the field was that he was down.
Correct.
So is there enough video evidence to overturn it? Game of inches.
Tony Anise, the head coach at Ferris State, there on the bottom waiting for this call. What a pleasure he is to talk to. He is a breath of fresh air when it comes to the coaching profession. No paranoia, all right? He wasn't tight. He wasn't miserable. He said the last thing I want to do is be miserable going to work or make my assistant coaches miserable going to work. The profession's hard enough. He just has the right frame of mind.
After review, the call on the field stands. 4th and goal, Valdosta State.
Wow.
Now, people may say there, Tiffany, well, come on, he was in, but there's not indisputable video evidence.
Please set the game clock to 5 seconds.
At this point, Tom, are you going to go for it or are you going to kick?
Ferris State gets the ball coming out. I'm going to kick it. I'm going to kick it. I want points. I think this thing's going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And here comes the offense. They're going the other way.
Valdosta State going for it. They're 6 of 7 on 4th downs in the playoffs.
Interesting. 2 of 10 on 3rd downs in the playoffs, but 6 of 7 on 4th down. See, being in the shotgun right here surprises me. And you've got essentially half a yard to go. I get under center here. Whether we're going to run the ball from a sneak standpoint or get out of the pocket, as we see a Ferris State timeout being called. Coach Tony Anise screaming down the sideline as the fastest player on the field down there.
I'm with you, Tom. Sometimes you just want to see some old school football where everybody just grunges it out down in the trenches. And if you're believing in your guys up front,
Ferris State, that's their 3rd and final timeout of the half.
Then I want to see you power it in.
Yeah, if you put the quarter, and I understand that they're not an under center team, but by getting up under center, you now at least create the illusion that you could have a quarterback sneak. You can run the jet sweep, which is a huge staple of the Valdosta State offense. Behind him, still do some of that play action stuff. And if you want to get out of the pocket with Rogan Wells, which is what I would do here, because Rogan Wells is not only a passer, but he's a runner. So if you get him on the perimeter outside of the pocket in some form of a play action, if you feel like you're not going to run it, you at least give him the run pass option of tucking it or throwing it.
The gold line stand. You remember, this was 1st down. And then the Blazers go back at it again on 2nd down. Still don't get
close.
in. But this one was the one that really thought, oh, he may have crossed it. Instead, he's down just short of the goal line. And a big play as we're talking about momentum. On the way here, can Valdosta State punch it in? Seth McGill leaps over, and he's in. A big score before the half for the Blazers as they go for it on 4th down and are successful.
Well, if we run the inside zone enough times, we're actually going to get in on one of them. This is just a nice job. And you could see Kerwin Bell during the timeout getting a little fiery on the sideline with his guys, and I guarantee you that was about offensive line. You better make this happen because we're going to run it, and it's going to be on you.
The extra point from Gray. So a 4-point lead with 2 seconds remaining in this first half, and some chippiness near the goal line as flags fly out. Looks like both Ferris State and Valdosta State players in each other's faces, and the officials will talk it over really quickly.
No after-school shenanigans, kids. We will turn this car right around.
we saw just how important that was for both teams, and Valdosta State able to grab the lead.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, kicking team, number 51. That's his first sportsmanlike. Penalty will be assessed on the kickoff.
That against Ralph Singleton. But when you have all these emotions, and if you're the Blazers, you're frustrated that it took you 4 attempts likely to get in the end zone, even though you're happy that you were able to do so. I mean, what's the discussion like? Why are these guys so upset in your mind?
I don't think Kerwin Bell's happy with the officiating crew. I think that it starts right there. I think he feels like they scored on the second play with Rogan Wells. I think he feels like they scored on the third play. And to your point, it took him to the fourth play. And then you get the extracurriculars afterwards. I think the best thing that can happen to Kerwin Bell and his football team is to settle down and get in the locker room. Just get in the locker room, take a breather. You know you're going to have to come out and play defense. Kerwin Bell, very fiery guy right now. Listen, you mentioned it earlier here in the first half. They're not used to being in games where, number one, they got to sustain drives. They're used to scoring at will. They're not used to being in close games. So this is a great challenge for their football team. I think Ferris State kind of relishes these types of games. This is their brand of football. They knew coming into this game they couldn't go down 14 or 21 points in the first half because they're not built to come back that way. So we got a great second half in front of us here, Tiffany.
Absolutely. You don't want to go anywhere. Of course, the halftime report coming up. And then the D2 national champion will be decided in the second half. Short kick falls down. And boy, what a first half here between Ferris State and Valdosta State. Undefeated records, only one will remain perfect at the end of this one. The Blazers able to get on the board with a late score. They go into the locker room with the lead, and Kerwin Bell, I imagine, will have a few things to say to his players. But nonetheless, he's got to be pleased that he's ahead right now. As we send it down, she's standing by with Kerwin Bell. Alex?
Coach Bell, a lot of momentum swings in this first half. You score right before going into the locker room. What's the mindset in this battle?
Well, we've got to continue to stay aggressive on offense. There's going to be a lot of points scored. Hopefully we can start slowing them down again a little bit on defense, but they're really good. We're making a couple bad penalties, personal fouls. We got to cut that out. But it's going to be a great second half. We're enjoying it. This team has always risen. When they've been challenged, they've always risen to the challenge, and they're doing that again today.
Coach, we saw you fired up there on the sideline. A lot of self-inflicted mistakes, like you mentioned. How do you address it with your team?
Well, I'm just a little bit aggravated at some of the things going on with the game, the way it's ran. But listen, we got to keep our head. We talked about it all week. So if you get a personal, you go to the locker room. We've sent a couple to the locker room. But we've got to make sure we keep our cool. It's going to be a dogfight down to the end. There'll be 4 quarters. We told them that. And I like the way our team's playing. They're responding. They're playing well. And I look for a great second half.
Coach, thanks so much.
Thank you.
It's been an exciting one thus far. 28-24. Valdosta State leads. Coming up after the break, we'll join the studio with the halftime report. Hard hits. Valdosta State and Ferris State doing literally whatever it takes to try to capture that D2 national championship. As we say hello and welcome back in, Tom Luganville, Tiffany Green. At the start of this game, we said it was going to be about the quarterbacks. Right. How have they performed in your eyes?
Well, Rogan Wells, I think, has been exceptional. This has been an offense that's predicated upon explosive plays. In the first half alone, the Blazers have produced 6 plays of 20 yards or more offensively. And not only has he done it through the air after getting off to a bit of a rocky start early, He's done it on the ground as well, maintaining that balance of this offense. He's been very, very accurate. You see this throw to Kenny Benjamin there in the back of the end zone. His targets are not very big at Valdosta State, so he has to be very, very accurate in terms of where he places the football. He has been, particularly towards the latter half of the second quarter. And Ferris State, Tiffany, is going to have to come up with some answers on defense to get off the field and limit those explosive plays.
Well, thus far, the Blazers have held the Harlan Hill Trophy winner, Route Campbell, at bay for Ferris State. But the Bulldogs will receive in the second half. So come back to McKinney ISD Stadium, where a champion will be crowned after the second half. Come back. Just before the start of the third quarter, it's 28-24, Ferris State down by 4, and our Alex Cordry got a chance to catch up with the Bulldogs head coach Tony Anise.
Hey there, Tiffany and Tom. Yes, Coach Anise saying that time of possession has been a major problem for us. Also, he wants his defense to come up with a big play. He says that Valdosta State has converted too many third downs. Offensively, very pleased with the way that they have played. He says, hey, we've got the ball here to start the second half. Let's go out there and execute. But reminding his team here with 30 minutes left to play, we need our defense to come up big for us.
And that was something that he challenged his group with last week in their win over Minnesota State at the half. He said, look, with 5 minutes to go, he said, we need a hero. Who's going to be our hero? It was Austin Edwards, the DN, who helped to seal the deal. Let's see who steps up here as Javon Shaw gets out to near the 25-yard line. A late penalty flag coming out near the 40-yard line.
That flag came really, really out of left field from the umpire that was a good 25, 30 yards away from the return. Curious to see what he saw.
After a pretty smooth first quarter, things kind of slowed down in that second quarter. Saw a lot more penalties for both sides. So a holding penalty goes against Ferris State on that return. That backs him up a little bit more. Route Campbell could not really get anything going in that first half. 4 for 7 for a -3 yards.
And the first 3 completions he had were all for negative plays. So, you know, really nothing to be had there. Fairly one-dimensional first half on the ground for this football team.
And really his worst start of his career as the handoff to Marvin Campbell and a pickup of 4.
Well, and you can't discount how big that penalty was on the kickoff. There's a difference between starting off on the 26 or 27 and then starting off on your 14. That's a whole different mindset as a play caller. Worst field position start for Ferris State for the game tonight.
Deion Earls on the end around, coming back the other way, and Earls loses the football at the end as he was ruled down at the 46. So that's a big splash play for the Bulldogs offense.
Tremendous success on the end round here. They ran this in the first half. Inside the red area, got inside the 5-yard line. Essentially the same result, very well executed at the point of attack, allowing Earl to get to the edge, turn the corner, and off to the races, and finally getting out of a hole there from a field position standpoint.
Deion Earls, who stands at 5'8", a junior out of Chicago, showing a little toughness there as well. Campbell surveying the field, rolls out to his left, looking downfield, nowhere to go, moves by a couple of defenders down the sideline, and that's where he can be so dangerous, Tom.
It's not so much being a designated runner all the time, it's the ability to extend plays, which is he does here. Now you got to tuck that football in there, smart young man. Now switch it to the other side. Great awareness there of where the bad guys are coming from. They're coming from the inside. Switch the ball if you're Route Campbell, but you end up turning what could have been a potential negative into a positive.
And an injured player on the field for Valdosta State, Jeffrey Stokes, on the far sideline. we go back to that first half, and for Ferris State, they were able to get on the board because of big plays too.
Yeah, this was the opening play of the game with the fake bubble screen and the double pass down the sideline. Gained momentum, a 52-yard field goal, longest of the season for Ferris State. Really nailed that thing. So they kept creeping in, and then this right here, this was the play on the forced punt after Ferris State offensively, Tiffany, had really been struggling. You have an error by Valdosta State, you recover the ball inside the 10-yard line, and you capitalize with a touchdown. That's why Ferris State is in this ball game right now.
And we'll see if they're able to sustain a drive. Again, one of the things that Coach Anise told Alex coming out of the locker room was the fact that time of possession has not been in our favor.
No.
Valdosta State has held the ball just about 7 minutes more. We did see a longer drive in that second quarter. Can they put together a good one here? Marvin Campbell wrapped up for a loss of 1.
And that was a busted play in the backfield that time. You had too many guys going in opposite directions of where they were supposed to. Javon Shaw, number 13, created the mix up there in the backfield. And lack of execution.
5th tackle for a loss for this Blazers defense. And now 3rd and 3 just across midfield. It's Campbell trying to go once more, and he is tripped up and held short as the Blazers defense holds solid at the point of attack.
Route Campbell run into the sideline real quickly, trying to implore his coach to go for it on 4th down, wanting to call it his own number. He feels like he sees something. And Ferris State's going to keep the offense on the field, trusting their quarterback who just won the Harlan Hill Trophy.
Well, he says he's been a great decision maker all season long, a guy who's played with a ton of confidence, and on 4th and 1, they go for it here. Route Campbell wants it, and he gets it. And a penalty marker on the field, so we'll have to see what the call is, but nonetheless, you gotta like the gutsiness and the determination of your quarterback and Route Campbell saying, let's go for it.
And Ferris State thinks this is going to be a call against Valdosta. The play would then stand.
Personal foul. Hands to the face. Defense, number 8. That's 15 yards from the end of the run. And an automatic first down.
That's against Isalawapo Jegede. They like to call him Jegs. We will do the same. Big 6'6" guy, originally from Lagos, Nigeria, and who's really new to football. He hadn't played a whole lot. He played basketball at the junior college level, but said, let me try this football thing out.
Yeah, you know, he played basketball and his clock ran out because at the Division II level, as opposed to the FBS level, you don't have a clock that starts once you're a full-time student. So that preserves your eligibility at the Division II level, which has allowed him to give football a try.
And that was a huge 15-yard penalty as Campbell somehow able to elude and shed tacklers. He's brought down by Staten, but man, Route Campbell continuing to, as you said, extend plays with his feet.
Yeah, after a 15-yard gain, and now he's responsible for that free rusher off the edge, which is David Brown, number 7. He's coming right to his face. He's able to pull down the ball and, again, extend those plays. You don't have to be ripping off 30 to 40-yard runs, but make them chase you around a little bit.
And mishandled there is Marvin Campbell trying to recover that one. I think he was trying to run with the football before he got it.
Now, they've had success, Ferris State, running the ball between the tackles this entire drive. A little curious as to why they would all of a sudden go lateral, where the speed of Valdosta State's defense actually becomes a disadvantage for you.
Brings up another 4th down for Ferris State, 3rd down for Ferris State. Four of 7 today. Earls in motion. Campbell decides to keep it, and again able to pick up the first down. Route Campbell is deciding to put this team on his back and keep this drive going.
I really like the play calling here from Ferris State. put the ball into the hands of your bell cow. Make sure he's maintaining possession of that ball throughout the course of the play. Use all the misdirection, trying to create a numbers advantage, but make sure your best player has the ball in his hands on the most critical downs of the drive.
And if you're Danny Verpel for Valdosta State, how frustrating is that?
Well, you know, he talked with us about the frustrations of dealing with the triple option, which they faced, and felt like during the week he was telling his coach, I don't know, we might have to score 50, 60 points. I don't know how we're going to defend this. Well, some of these principles, when you get into the zone read action and you're isolating a defender that you're choosing not to block and the quarterback's reading that defender, it's a lot of the same option principles. And you're going to have to play sound assignment football, leveraging the ball, but most importantly, you have to account for the quarterback running, and that is a difficult thing to do each and every snap.
Well, an injured player on the field for Ferris State, Javon Shaw, who threw that 80-yard touchdown strike on the first play of the game for the Bulldogs. He gets up and goes to the sideline. More importantly, Tom, as Coach Anise said earlier, and we've talked about all game long, sustaining drives. Now, 10th play of this drive coming out of the locker room for Ferris State, and they've really been aided by a penalty here against Valdosta State. The personal foul penalty moved them ahead 15 yards. Now they're in the red zone. Campbell moving to the outside. Campbell, can he get in? And he's just pushed out. But look, they're using all runs on this drive.
Well, the thing that's interesting about that, and you may not have seen it when the ball was snapped, but that was going to be a quarterback run. That was quarterback counter. The fact that he mishandled the snap and created that slight delay actually helped open up the play, because that's what they were going to do anyway, but it delayed it just a little bit, created some more space, and sometimes your mishap in the backfield ends up benefiting you.
So now 1st and goal. And wrapped up was Marvin Campbell right there.
You know, Tiffany, you mentioned the time of possession and how important it is for Ferris State, because coming into the game, I think they felt like that was going to be an advantage. Then all of a sudden it became Valdosta State's advantage, and they were giving up explosive plays. That can't happen. This is a huge drive here as Ferris State scores.
And Marvin Campbell pushes ahead to take the lead. Ferris State with an impressive drive. And the Bulldogs back on top. The extra point is good, and the Bulldogs on top.
0 passes thrown on the opening offensive drive from Fresno State as they cap it off on the ground to take the lead once again here in McKinney, Texas.
Bulldogs fans are certainly pleased with their 15-0 team, 31-28 over Valdosta State. In that last drive, they showed why they're 8th in the nation in rushing.
Well, as we mentioned prior to the break, 0 plays through the air and a lot of extended plays on the ground by quarterback Route Campbell. Just doing a nice job of taking what the defense gives him, accounting for free rushers, and using that big 6'5", 220-pound frame to ward off would-be tacklers, shake off arm tackles. But it's really this delay right here of what was going to be the quarterback counter, because you mishandle the ball in the backfield, actually end up benefiting Ferris State offensively as they pounded in there for their opening scoring drive of the 3rd quarter.
So Benjamin brings it out just past the 30-yard line, and solid starting field position for Valdosta State. But you said all rushes on that drive, 12 plays more importantly, and more than 5 minutes eaten off that clock.
If you ask any coach in America, regardless of level, if they could have a 12-play drive and not have to throw the ball and score, they would take it every single time. It's like the old adage. It was an old coaching saying that said, when you throw the ball, 3 things can happen, and 2 of them are bad.
As a former quarterback, though, Tom, how does that make you feel in terms of you're not putting it in the air?
I know. Well, you better make sure you don't throw it to the other team. That's the way it makes you feel.
Austin Edwards on the stop for no gain. 7 lead changes in this national championship game. Ferris State trying to bring home their first ever D2 title. Never made an appearance in the championship game for Valdosta State. They're trying to bring home their first title in 6 years. Rogan Wells stopped by Avante Bell for a pickup of 2.
And 3rd and 8 has not been a familiar down and distance during the course of this game, and 3rd down during the course of the playoffs for Valdosta State has not been well executed. And what, 2 of 10 over the course of the playoffs for Valdosta State? 3rd and 8's not a healthy recipe.
Listen to the Bulldogs fans, as I know this is a big one. Wells going up top, has a man, and Brian Songs with a huge catch. When you need him, Brian Songs is there. Good for 36.
Now this is a fade route from the inside slot. And this ball is thrown really back-shouldered, underthrown intentionally to the sideline, because really 2 things are going to happen. You're either going to get a forced pass interference, which is good, or you're going to have a reception. There's not a lot of negatives to the back shoulder throw.
So they cross the field. Here's Trayvon Roberts. Roberts almost able to sneak by. And that's good for another first down. Najim Hosen in on the stop.
You see all these guys in their black jerseys, and you got Trayvon Roberts at 5'10", 172. You've got Leandre Gallimore, he's 5'10", 171. They're all little, small, explosive guys that are so difficult to handle one-on-one, and we get these tongues dragging for Ferris State on defense.
And this feels like Valdosta State's first drive, putting their foot on the gas, the big plays going over the middle, and it's incomplete. Daryl Myers, the intended target.
One of the few throws that we've seen today that was not well positioned by Rogan Wells. If he throws that ball on what's called the bang 8 post, which is an on-time post route, that ball's got to be thrown a foot in front of the numbers. And if he places it there, even though he's got some tight coverage, he puts it within the catch radius of the intended target. That ball was thrown well behind, one of the few inaccurate throws we've seen today from Rogan Wells.
Now 2nd and 10. The handoff to Tompkins, and he's brought down by Sam Highmore. Kerwin Bell said he wanted his team to remain aggressive. That's what they've been all season long. And now another 3rd down, as Valdosta State's 8 of 10 today on 3rd down conversions.
It's a big turnaround from the previous 3 weeks of the playoffs.
Absolutely. And no time left on the play clock, and a timeout is taken by Valdosta State just before then. So we will step aside along as well. 6:34 to go in the 3rd.
NCAA Division II Football Championship. Brought to you by Philadelphia Cream Cheese. It must be the Philly.
Bulldogs making a difference, having some community service during their stay in McKinney. The teams went to 2 different schools, engaging with the kids in different activities and cheers, art and reading. And certainly McKinney has been a great host. How about a beautiful facility here? Man. Nearly 12,000 seats, newly built, $70 million poured into McKinney Independent School District Stadium. And now a big 3rd down on the way for Valdosta State. Wells going across the middle, and he finds Joe Fortson. Fortson with a 16-yard TD catch.
Valdosta State expecting man-to-man defense, got man-to-man defense with pressure off of the edge.
Andrew Gray will take the extra point.
Seven plays, 68 yards, capped off by a 16-yard touchdown to Joe Fortson, the senior out of Buffalo, New York.
You're going to have this defender right here. He's going to come off of the edge right here. Now, the left side of your field is the backside post. If we play this, they pick this up in terms of protection. Valdosta State does on offense, and then you get the post from the 6'6" Fortson, number 3 there. No underneath coverage to be worried about, and you throw it up to the big target. It's had a huge height and weight advantage over Ferris State's secondary. Very well executed. Valdosta State knew what was coming. They knew what their matchup was, and the single receiver to the bottom of the field on the post route. Very well done.
He's got a trio of touchdowns now on the season, and more importantly for Logan Wells, who was a quarterback we couldn't wait to see coming in. He started 3 of 8 on this game, and since then has gone 11 of 13, 243 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Ferris State has chosen to roll the dice and play a lot of man-to-man defense, and that's not an ideal matchup for them, as Valdosta State's skill is just superior. They can run, they're quick, they're explosive, and they've had a lot of one-on-one matchups that have been advantageous.
Dion Earls still on his feet. Earls just out to the 33-yard line, and you feel like as he's given a little bit of space, he can fly.
He was one defender away from taking that out the gate. Valdosta State very, very fortunate there in their kickoff coverage unit. And now we'll see if Ferris State has an answer to come out and have a 12-play drive to open the third quarter. Valdosta State has answered. They've taken back some of this momentum. Let's see where things stand with Route Campbell and the Bulldogs offense.
Campbell back to pass, feeling some pressure, gets away, throws it down the field, and he's got a man wide open, and Dion Earls had it, and then it was popped loose after that hit by Torres Dotson.
Route Campbell here is directing traffic, and he's correct in what he's doing here, but he puts too much air onto the ball. If he fires this shot in here, the ball gets there quicker, the target catches the ball prior to the hit. It was the level of the throw that probably created that as an incomplete pass. I bet he wished he had that pass back.
Now Campbell keeps it, trying to get around and nowhere to go. Look at that team speed on defense for Valdosta State. Stephen Denmark and Raymond Palmer were right there.
So the question you've got to ask yourself as we see Route Campbell trying to outrun the sideline-to-sideline speed of Valdosta State on defense is, why are they throwing the football? You don't have a single pass attempt in your opening drive of the third quarter. You went right down the field running the ball. Run it until they stop it.
Third and long. Here come the Blazers. And a picked off! Coming back the other way, it's Alex Brown. And Alex Brown has got space, and he's brought down inside the 10. You talked about momentum. Valdosta State had it, and they're keeping it after that interception.
And that's exactly what Kerwin Bell said coming into the game. When we get it, we have to sustain it. We have to maintain it. And this is just a poorly thrown ball under duress, late to the sideline. A big no-no. Doesn't see the underneath coverage there in the defensive secondary by Centel Williams. And remember, Centel Williams was the corner on the throw to Kenny Benjamin for the touchdown in the second quarter. So some redemption there for the defensive secondary of Valdosta.
Alex Brown, the junior out of Valdosta, Georgia. And this is a rare miscue from J. Route Campbell, just his fifth interception of the season.
And correction for me, Alex Brown, 24 on the interception. Just a poor decision, which he hasn't made a lot of poor decisions. J. Route Campbell's only thrown 5 interceptions all year long. We're talking about a team that's played 15 games.
And now this gives the Blazers great field position after that 36-yard return from Brown. Player down on the field.
See, J. Route Campbell wants to go left and come down to the crossing route right there, but he vacates the pocket and essentially runs into pressure off of the right side of the edge. And Alex Brown stepping in front of what was a little wheel route from the fullback going up to the sideline, and an ill-advised throw. Really the first major mistake is Raymond Palmer, captain of this defense for Valdosta State, with the injury, but the first real significant mistake for Ferris State on offense today.
And it comes at an inopportune time as it gives great field position for the Blazers to strike again, already up by 4 and looking to add to this lead as Rogan Wells tries to throw a strike. Centel Williams on the coverage and a late flag coming out.
As well there should be. See, Daryl Myers, and you see the tug on the jersey and then the hand around the waist on behalf of the Ferris State defender. That's a good call.
Pass interference. Defense. Number 24. That ball occurred in the end zone. Ball be placed at the first down.
Centel's having a tough day today for Ferris State on defense, and now this puts the ball right inside the 3-yard line with a fresh set of 4 downs.
Remember, it was this Ferris State defense who nearly held Valdosta State deep in their own territory, but the handoff there and nowhere to go as Kenny Benjamin went airborne and he was dropped down.
Reminiscent of the series right before halftime, where Valdosta State just keeps wanting to run it in there, and Ferris State holds up on defense. So Benjamin tried to go airborne here, which you don't recommend on a regular basis. Coaches will tell you don't leave your feet in this game.
And if Valdosta State is able to score, this could make it a 2-score game. Wells in the back of the end zone, and he finds his man. Touchdown for the Blazers. Austin Leach on the 1-yard touchdown reception, and it was all set up by that young man, Alex Brown.
Really nice concept there by Valdosta State on offense with the corner flat combination into the boundary. A very simple high-low read for Rogan Wells, and he has been hot since the middle part of the first quarter.
And correction there, that was Travis Taylor on the touchdown catch for Valdosta State. The extra point is good. 42-31. The defense leads to offense. Blazers moving ahead.
ESPN celebrating 150 years of college football.
Well, here's how the 2 quarterbacks for each side have fared in this game. Rogan Wells has really been the star. 306 yards and 5 scores for the Blazers.
Well, and what's amazing is you see that -3 number there for J. Route Campbell in the passing game. 3 of those 4 completions were for negative yardage, and we've got 4 minutes and 25 seconds to go in the third quarter. Those are the same numbers they came out of the locker room with.
amazing, and we were scratching our heads to say, well, how are they down and really still just in this game after numbers like that? Penalty marker on the field as Shaw brought the kick back.
Ferris State cannot afford another field position snafu here, as they have not benefited well from penalties here in the third quarter.
During the return, block in the back, receiving team, number 14, half the distance to the goal, first down.
And as this game wears on, Tom, you see Ferris State starting to shoot themselves in the foot with some miscues.
Yeah, they are, and it's resulting in bad field position. And when you're playing from behind, and now all of a sudden you've got to get back into this game, you've lost some momentum, you got a long field ahead of you. Those advantages and that momentum stays on Valdosta State's sideline.
So worse starting field position inside the 10-yard line. The pass out to Shaw, and Shaw able to give them a little bit of breathing room as they pick up a 15.
Now, while I questioned why they were throwing the football in the last series, I'm actually glad they threw it right there, because Route Campbell needed some confidence. Get back on the saddle, give him an early confidence throw, get him back into rhythm and feeling good. You don't need your quarterback in a bad frame of mind when you're backed up.
Derek Portis on the rush. Pickup of a few, pushed out by Corey Roberts. Well, we've seen Ferris State score in a number of different ways. They started off the game with a double pass, 80 yards, and a quick strike, and then coming out of the half, or the locker room rather, they were able to rush it in all the way through. What will they dial up here? Campbell going downfield, and Cy Barnett, who has not been targeted much this season, gets caught up with Dotson, and a penalty marker is out.
Barnett, just a redshirt freshman for Ferris State, and tangled up there with Taurus Dotson.
Pass interference, defense, number 15, 15-yard penalty from the previous spot, and an automatic first down.
So Tony Anese's team continuing to be aided by penalties from Valdosta State.
You can see 15 Dotson just wrapping up, and he's looking back into the quarterback while he's putting both arms around the waist of Cy Barnett. Two redshirt freshmen there tangling up, resulting in a first down for Ferris State. A much needed one, for that matter.
5 penalties, 70 yards for Valdosta State. Campbell looking left all the way, and wow, what a hit from Steven Denmark, as Deion Earls maybe thinking twice about collecting that one. Big hit from Denmark.
And look at the size of Denmark. Again, a former wide receiver, didn't have great ball skills. They loved his skill set. Look how long his arms are. Matches up. He really shut down half of the field for Valdosta State defense. Watch him here in a little shuffle bail technique. Comes back, times it up very nicely. And Earl's fortunate to hold on to the football.
Coach says he's been a nice surprise at the position. The toss over along that right side, and Portis is knocked out, and a late penalty flag, or a penalty flag coming in for the late hit.
Personal foul. Defense, number 6. Late hit out of bounds. 15 yards from the end of the run. And an automatic first down.
Various Rivers now adding to that personal foul total for Valdosta State with 4, and continuing to help give yards and Ferris State to march down the field.
Yeah, and Ferris State there would not have had the line to gain. So again, silly penalties, self-inflicted wounds for Valdosta State on defense.
Javon Campbell up the middle, continuing to move the pow. David Brown, one of the first to get to him. And that looks like it might be a first down. And another penalty marker. Lots of laundry continuing to come out on the field along this drive.
And as a result, Valdosta State defensively chooses to rotate 4 new defensive players into the game right now.
It's an area where they felt like they've had a lot of depth, and guys allow them to stay fresh as a Blazer defender is down on the field. Well, tonight on ESPN and the ESPN app, just a reminder that after the New Orleans Bowl, stick around for SportsCenter. Bucci and Anderson will have all the highlights for the first day of Bowl Mania, plus Texans, Jets, and Broncos, Browns post-game coverage, plus LeBron and the Lakers take on the Hornets in front of his airness. That's coming up tonight on SportsCenter. Well, Jamie and Gaskin, the true freshman linebacker for Valdosta State, down on the field. And he's getting up under his own power and walking over to the sideline. But you saw the penalty flag come out, and let's take a look at the personal foul at the end of the play against Jeffrey Stokes, number 52 in black. A little scrum there at the bottom.
Listen, that was a little back and forth continuation of the play. That was hardly an egregious, flagrant foul upon that young man right there. I'm a little bit surprised at that call with Jeffrey Stokes.
And Stokes, who transferred in from Jacksonville University, the senior out of Cape Coral, Florida, now sees the Bulldogs march into the red zone. Campbell trying to find some running room and really nowhere to go. He picked up 2 yards. David Brown, Craig Watts there to greet him.
Starting to see a little trend here with the Ferris State offense. The quick hitting stuff to the perimeter in their run game, and then inside quarterback run game. You know, back and forth, back and forth. Now, Route Campbell, as you see right there, right at the completion of that play, looked to the sideline, gave his hand in a throwing motion to the sideline. 101 yards on the ground so far tonight. Real dependence on Route Campbell from the quarterback position.
He's helped to keep them in this game. The jet sweep to Earls, and Earls with plenty of room, and he gets in for the score. There's a penalty marker on the field, and that will determine whether the call stands or if it'll come back.
Holding, offense, number 13, 10 yards from the spot of the foul, still second down.
And that really hurts after that score is erased for Ferris State, down by 2 scores. That one going against Javon Shaw.
You'll be at the bottom of the screen right there in the slot, and you're going to see the jersey pull away. That is really ticky-tack. If I'm an official there, I keep that that flag in my pocket. If that's going to be called holding, then let's just hold up the rest of the game, because that's going to happen on every single snap.
Well, in this third quarter, there has been a ton of penalty markers that have helped the ebb and flow of this drive. Route Campbell keeping it all the way, and he runs out of bounds. So that brings up third down after that pickup of 4.
You're right, Tiffy. Way too many penalties here in the second half, slowing down the pace of play, taking away from rhythm for both teams offensively, but sustaining another drive, as Ferris State did, to come out of the locker room. Very important to come away with a touchdown here, not a field goal.
We've seen 8 penalties in this quarter alone. 3rd and 10. Campbell being flushed out. Campbell looking downfield, a tough throw, and ill-advised, and is tipped up and caught Oh my goodness! How did that happen? Keandre Craig.
19, Corey Roberts for Valdosta State on defense is trying to tip the ball back into the field of play with the hope that one of his teammates is going to have an opportunity to intercept it, and instead into the hands of number 3, Keandre Craig. And Route Campbell's just trying to throw the ball away. He's trying to make the smart play here and stay on the field on offense.
The defensive player jumped from inbounds, tipped the ball back inbounds. The Ferris State player caught it, resulted in play with a touchdown. The fifth play for further review.
Talking about a lunky bounce and break for the Bulldogs.
Now let's see where Corey Roberts, 19 in black, is when he does this. And the goalpost takes that view away from us. Thank you, goalpost. Well, he clearly has the ball out of his hands before he touches the ground.
That play is under review, but man, oh man. The reaction from Route Campbell, I can't believe it. Did that just happen?
And you can get a, Corey Roberts just trying to make a play. He sends a lot of black jerseys around him. Maybe I get it tipped up and we get the play. Wow. And he happens to tip it to the tallest target in the area with Keandre Craig at 6'5", 215 pounds, is the player he ends up tipping it to. You feel for that young man and what he was attempting to do.
Well, for Valdosta State, if it holds, they've had 3 penalties that's aided Ferris State in this drive of 44 yards and perhaps one badly tipped ball.
This may give us a pretty good look at it as well. Keandre Craig is standing to the top of your screen there on the very right side. He runs into the end zone. He never goes out of bounds either.
Nope. I think that call stands. If it looks like he was trying to keep it in play, but at that point, why keep it in play? Why just back down and take it with you?
Yeah, I think this is a very clear ruling for replay. I'm a little surprised it's taking this long. Be curious to know if there's something they're trying to determine.
Well, a touchdown was called on the field. You have to have indisputable evidence to overturn it. But this would be huge for Ferris State if they're able to hold tight to this touchdown, and we'll get the call.
Tony Anise, the head coach at Ferris State, will take him however we can get him.
After review, the call on the field stands. Touchdown.
Ferris State will not go away. This is a team that has continued to find ways all game long to hang in there. They've led several times. We've seen a ton of lead changes in this game. And now they are once again within a touchdown of the Blazers. You question whether they would be able to drive 92 yards down the field, and Ferris State able to do so in 9 plays.
And listen, Ferris State has found the right mix. It's inside runs with the quarterback, outside perimeter stuff with their skill. That seems to be the rhythm that this offense is in. Now, when they've gotten away from that, like they did 2 series ago, and they just came out for whatever reason, started throwing it, then they didn't move the ball very effectively. So, and you saw Kerwin Bell just a moment ago talking to Corey Roberts on the sideline and, just coaching him up on the situation, understanding, what's happening there. I understand you're trying to make a play, but sometimes it's almost like telling a quarterback, don't throw it up for grabs, just take the sack, we'll play the next down.
And again, 44 yards of penalties for the Blazers. Helped Ferris State find the end zone. And now they're within 4. Kenny Benjamin from the 5. across the 20, still on his feet and brought down just near the 8-yard line. Well, Ferris State making their first ever national championship game appearance. As we send it down to the third member of our crew, and Alex Cordry, what you got?
Well, the Bulldogs defense was looking a little bit deflated on the sideline, but coaches came right over to them. They said, hey, don't pay any attention to that scoreboard. The only thing our goal is now, let's just get off the field on third down. They said, we've got them in some third and long situations. It's time to capitalize.
Well, thanks, Alex. And start out trying to chase Rogan Wells, and Wells able to find Gallimore in the flat.
And the changeup now for Ferris State on defense, zone. We are not going to give up explosive plays. We're going to make Valdosta State earn it. And in that time, Rogan Wells tried to go through his progression, wanted some downfield stuff, didn't have it, got flushed. And Ferris State will take that 5 to 6 yard throw every single time. Just don't give up the 40-yard throw.
2 to gain on the carry, Seth McGill. And McGill stop a yard short.
Yeah, I don't feel, Tiffany, that Ferris State can afford to get into many any man-to-man situations. They tried to roll the dice the first half, tried to play man-to-man across the board, probably more than they should have, got burnt as a result. And now this changeup, I think, is how they need to play the remainder of the game, with a third and short and a big, big third down coming up right here. Look at that number for Valdosta State, Tiffany. Wow.
Exactly what Alex was talking about. Can they convert here on 3rd and 1? McGill on the carry. And I don't know. It's going to be close depending on the spot. Austin Simpson was there.
If you go by the spot of the ball from the line judge, this looks like a gain of 0. So this is going to be 4th down without question.
And that brings us to the end of the 3rd quarter. Big decision coming up for Kerwin Bell. Will he go for it on 4th down? There's a D2 title on the line. Ferris State and Valdosta State in a big battle. What more could you ask for in a championship game? The winner of this one will go on to hoist that trophy. The winners of Division II. Will it be Ferris State or Valdosta State? 4th quarter will decide it, as this is a championship round of a heavyweight fight coming up between the Bulldogs and the Blazers from McKinney, Texas. The Blazers trying to go for right here on 4th down. They've been successful already. 4th and 1, Rogan Wells, and he picks up the 1st down.
Well, that's a big play call, considering Ferris State, the drive they had previous, a gain of 3 right there on 4th and 1. You give it to the Harlan Hill Trophy finalist playing against the Harlan Hill Trophy winner tonight. Got to have the ball in the hands of your best player, and that's Rogan Wells.
Wells came up 2nd in the voting to Route Campbell on the other sideline. Wells with plenty of time, flushed out of the pocket, and he's able to throw it away. But you keep hearing that name, Harlan Hill.
Yep.
The trophy named after the former University of North Alabama player back in the 50s. Also spent time in the NFL with the Chicago Bears, given to the best player in Division II football. And there's the winner right there, and Route Campbell, his team down by 4. The fact that both of these teams coming in as unblemished on the year. 15-0 for Ferris State, 13-0 for Valdosta State. First time we've seen that in the championship game since 2015.
Another big third down coming up here for Valdosta State. And, you know, the third quarter, Tiffany, both teams exceptional on third down. 6 of 10 for Ferris State, 9 of 12 for Valdosta State. I think in the fourth quarter here, the team that gets off the field on third down on defense is likely the team that's going to win this game.
I'd agree there, Tom. And now a 3rd and 3 for the Blazers. See their season average well above it today. Wells finds his man, and Trayvon Roberts picks up the first down to keep this drive going. Really, Rogan Wells has done a great job, and you mentioned it earlier, Tom, about spreading the ball around. He's found 9 different receivers today.
Yeah, and it's because they work through their progressions. The coverage dictates where they go. They're going to place certain guys in certain areas of the field and let the quarterback progress through, and he's done a really good job of that.
Wells once more, a wide open Leandre Gallimore, and Gallimore is wrapped up by Adrian Green. First-year start on defense for the Bulldogs. Pickup of 16, and you're seeing this Blazers offense continuing to click as their offensive coordinator, Kate Bell, who played at Jacksonville, does a lot of the every down kind of stuff, and that's the son of Kerwin Bell. A great combination there as they're both very aggressive, and it's paid off well for them all season long. Wells tucks it and runs, and he's stopped and brought down by Sam Giordano.
Well, I think Kerwin Bell and Cade Bell both think alike offensively. They have the same mindset, the similar approach. And by having that trust in Cade Bell to take over a lot of the play calling duties, now Kerwin Bell, the head coach, can manage the game, manage the team, situational football, substitution, all of the things that ultimately the head coach is responsible for. And sometimes it can get blurry when you're trying to operate the offense and call the plays, but also run the entire football team.
And you, of course, a son of a football coach as well, know all too well sometimes it could be pretty interesting, those conversations between father and son. As a timeout is taken by Valdosta State, and we'll step aside with them. Come back with us, 11:45 remaining in the D2 National Championship game. Valdosta State have seen some great coaches come through the program. Dana Holgerson, now at West Virginia, was the quarterbacks and wide receiver coach. How about Kirby Smart, who's now the leader of the University of Georgia? Mike Leach, now out of the Pac-12 with Washington State, and Will Muschamp coaching in the SEC with South Carolina. But as you and I both know, it started with Hal Mummy.
It did.
And now a father-son connection here between Kerwin and Cade Bell.
Yeah, Hal Mummy in the air raid that ended up moving on to the University of Kentucky, and Tim Couch, and then permeating throughout college football, and then a father-son duo here bringing the offensive magic back to the Blazer program.
10th play of the drive. And the double pass, which we saw work earlier, now a touchdown to who? Rogan Wells! Ivory Durham, the backup quarterback, finds the other quarterback in Rogan Wells.
Now, when we get another look at this play is fantastic, because there are 2 options here for Ivory Durham to go to. Both of them are open if he chooses to throw it, and he ends up making the most difficult throw on the field and makes a really good throw.
The true freshman out of Jacksonville, Coach Bell, said he is a special talent. We've got to find a way to get him on the field, and he's showing off here.
So you get the handoff right here. You see the post route to the top of your screen. Down here to the bottom of your screen, you had a stutter and go, and he throws back across to the quarterback. And great job, too, by Rogan Wells. Good ball skills along the sideline, had some awareness, knew where the coverage was.
rolling up the dice and cashing it in are the Blazers. Well, we have now seen Rogan Wells be responsible for what, like 6 touchdowns today, 5 throwing, and now 1 receiving touchdown.
Well, it's interesting coming into this game, of all the touchdowns that Route Campbell had been responsible, 47, one of those was a reception.
Yes. Yeah, the first time in 111 years of Bulldog history that a player had actually caught, ran, and threw for a touchdown. And now we're seeing Rogan Wells just put on an excellent performance here in this big moment.
What makes this game great is that Valdosta State is having to resort to plays like that to help them win the football game. That's what makes a truly great championship game.
And the touchback for Earls. And I think one of the things that, you know, viewers may or may not know is for many of these guys in Division II, this could very well be the last stage that they're playing, and especially for the seniors on this program. And so when you're talking about how do you recruit and bring in guys and play Division II football, knowing that perhaps they have a chance to go to the next level, but it's not as likely.
Then you start to really find out who loves the game, because you don't have all the bells and whistles. You don't get all of the resources. You're not hampered. You're playing because you truly love it. Guys like that are the most fun to coach.
And wrapped up and absolutely nowhere to go is J. Rubel Mondrell Jefferson in on the sack.
Little bit of delayed pressure there. As you mentioned, 37 Mondrell Jefferson coming through the B gap between the tackle and the guard. J. Root Campbell just holding onto the ball a little too long there.
The handoff to Marvin Campbell, and Campbell picks up a few. Ferris State having to make another long drive down the field. After that 4-yard pickup, it's now 3rd and 10. Campbell going down the right sideline. One-on-one coverage with Steven Denmark, and he's been able to lock down the field all season long. Keandre Craig was the intended target.
Looked like there was some tussling along the sideline there. You see Keandre Craig down the sideline. That jersey's being pulled away off of the shoulder, but neither official within the area feeling it was enough to warrant the defensive holding. And now we see a punt.
Yeah, first
3 and out.
3 and out for either team today in this game.
Wow.
That's impressive.
And at an inopportune time for Ferris State.
And the punt rolls just about the 34-yard line, and that's where the Blazers offense will start when you come back.
The NCAA Division II Football Championship, brought to you by McDonald's.
Valdosta State trying to claim the trophy for the 4th time in school history. They're on top 49-38, and look at that record of 3-1 when they've made it to the championship game. The last one coming in 2012 when the Blazers down Winston-Salem State.
It's a program that's got access to such great players, Tiffany. I mean, you can throw a rock outside of Kerwin Bell's window and hit a great player.
And now Seth McGill trying to air it out down the sideline, going for Gallimore. We saw that play work the last time. Why not do it again?
Everybody's throwing the ball.
Yeah, give the running back some love.
I don't know why they needed to do that. Let's pay attention to this clock. You just forced the first 3 and out. You're in control of the game. It's actually a very, very well-thrown football. And I don't know if they just felt like, hey, if we catch them off guard here, it's over. Let's take a shot. If it happens, great. If not, let's get back to business.
They want to put it out of reach, already up 2 scores with under 10 to go. And Valdosta State has scored 44 or more points in all but 1 game this season, and that came last week against Notre Dame College of Ohio when they put up 30.
Well, and that was the point I was trying to make for how tough this opponent, Ferris State, has been for Valdosta State. When they're having to pull out trick plays to try and win the game, when you've beaten people 66-16 and 61-21, I mean, that's a lot of respect for Ferris State, realizing we're in a dogfight here.
Ferris State has given them some good shots. Have we seen their best shot? How will they answer? This is 3rd and 7. Wells looking down the field, running around the pocket, still not going down. Throws it right into the hands of a Ferris State player, Keandre Craig, on the sideline. So that brings up 4th down, a good stand for the Bulldogs defense.
And this is the problem when you try to put that nail in the coffin and it backfires. Now all of a sudden you're in 2nd and 10. You don't have the wealth of the playbook at your disposal, and if you don't produce on 2nd down, you're in 3rd and long, and here you are punting, and Ferris State's got to be sitting there on their sideline going, why in the world did Valdosta State do that?
And either way, he's saying, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We get the ball back. We're probably going to get decent field position. So our 2 back-to-back 3-and-outs came in the 4th quarter under 10 minutes to go.
So Earls watches it bounce, and the Bulldogs will have to drive just about 80 yards. And the FCS Football Championship will take place Saturday, January 5th at noon Eastern in Frisco, Texas on ESPN2. For more information, go to NCAA.com, the official online home for all 90 NCAA championships, as Eastern Washington will meet North Dakota State in that title game.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, Valdosta State, number 34. It's a 15-yard penalty. That's number 34's first unsportsmanlike of the game.
That going against Walker Schwab, and again, mental miscues by Valdosta State, helping the field position of Ferris State really all game long.
Kerwin Bell has just got to be beside himself on the sideline. You get a 3-and-out, you're totally in charge of the game, you punt it, now you get a penalty and give them great field position.
6 personal fouls against the Blazers. So now at the 35, Route Campbell trying to engineer a comeback here. Devontae Harrington, who scored earlier with a big pickup brought down by Craig Watts. That's a gain of 22. More importantly, took the field.
Absolutely.
Now over in Blazers territory at the 43.
Well, these 2 teams, I'll tell you what they do, is they capitalize on the other team's error. Both teams have done that all night long.
Campbell feeling pressure, able to elude it, gets it away. Harrington once more. And he's knocked out by Nick Moss.
That's just a terrific display of pocket awareness. You come back, you've got the free rusher right in your face. You don't evade him. Now you're looking at an entirely different set of circumstances. You're looking at 2nd and 16 instead of 2nd and 5.5.
Manageable 2nd down, 32 the yard to gain, or line to gain. And the rush on the outside, and staying on his feet, tiptoeing down the sideline is Shaw. So that moves the sticks once again, and you're starting to feel a little momentum and juice going for the Bulldogs.
See the block on the perimeter, that number 5, Marvin Campbell, right there. That's a legal block below the waist because the player is within the framework of being shoulder to shoulder right in front of you. Allows the back to turn the corner. Really well executed on the perimeter there by Ferris State.
And Torres Dotson, the injured player on the field for Valdosta State. So a quick break on the field, and we just want to remind you that Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN. Catch Sunday NFL Countdown before he tries to snap the Cowboys' 5-game winning streak. Andrew Luck went one-on-one with his former teammate Matt Hasselbeck. Plus, Monday Night Football Week 15 features an NFL South battle between Drew Brees and the Saints taking on Cam Newton and the Panthers, who are desperate to win and keep their playoff hopes alive. And you're talking about a young man by the name of Jason Vanderlaan, who was a 2-time Harlan Hill Trophy winner, a quarterback with the Bulldogs, now a tight end in the NFL with the Carolina Panthers.
Do you know what type of athlete you have to be to go from playing quarterback at the D2 level to even having a sniff of an opportunity to not only make an NFL roster at another position, but sustain? That's unbelievable.
The handoff to Campbell, wrapped up by Rory Blair. First time we're calling his name today, the senior out of Pittsburgh.
I'll tell you, I think it should be noted that both coaches here, Kerwin Bell for Valdosta State and Coach Tony Anise on the Ferris State sideline, their coaches on the rise. Their age may not tell you that they are, but somebody at the FCS or maybe at the Group of 5 level needs to start looking into these two guys.
Well, you asked an interesting question of Coach Anise yesterday and said, hey, are you familiar with Lance Leipold?
Yeah.
Of Buffalo. Okay, so a guy who was wildly successful
at the NAIA
Division III level. And then,
Division III level, excuse me.
And then moves up and takes over a Buffalo team. And now you're seeing Tony Anise leading his team to the first national championship game in their school history. Dion Earls trying to shake a couple of defenders. He's brought down by Jamie and Gaskin. That's good enough for a first down. And then you look at Kerwin Bell, as you mentioned, on the other side.
And Brian Kelly won 4 national championships at Grand Valley State. And Jerry Kill was at Saginaw Valley, then went to Emporia, then went to Southern Illinois, then went to Northern Illinois, up to Minnesota. He won everywhere he was at. And I think there's a lot of substance of guys that win when they don't have all the resources.
Route Campbell right up the middle, and this Ferris State team is just not going away. They have found creative ways to stay in this ball game, even though you and I mentioned that they may have been outmatched in terms of speed, but when you've got the best player in Division II leading the way for you, a lot of good things can happen over 100 yards on the ground, a little trickeration, and not fooled at all. As this Blazers defense, Jags in to take them down.
Well, Jags just blew that up, big number 8 from his tackle position, and that's really the first time that Valdosta State hasn't fallen for the end around. That's been a big gainer for Ferris State on offense, except for that play.
Loss of 5, now 3rd and 8, a critical one here with under 6 to go in this national championship in Division II. Campbell has a man open, and the flat just bounces it to Malik Taylor. And now 4th down, decision time, and it looks like the kicking unit will trot on.
The only thing that helps them there is that the ball hits the ground and the clock stops. So you get an opportunity to get some points on the board. The clock's not draining right now, and you're going to have to count on your defense to make some plays here.
So Jackson Dieterle on for the 31-yard attempt. He booted in a 52-yard attempt. That was the longest of the season here from 31. And it's good. We've got a ball game. 8 points separates Ferris State from Valdosta State. Come back.
UFC fans, this is the moment you truly all been waiting for.
They call it Title Town for a reason. Valdosta State trying to close in on their 4th, the first one coming back in 2004 against Pittsburgh. And then in 2007, downing a powerhouse in D2 in Northwest Missouri State. In their last 6 years ago against Winston-Salem State. They made it to the national championship game for the first time back in 2002. There were 14 wins for that Blazers team. They're trying to match that number here today. Tied for 4th all-time in national championships. And on the return is Quaylen Patterson. Can they try to track down Grand Valley State and get tied with them? North Dakota State, as we mentioned, who's now moved up to the FCS level, and Northwest Missouri State, who's been the big dog. 6 titles in total.
The thing that we touched on when we came on air with these two football teams, Valdosta State in particular, is all of their playmakers are back. Their receiving core is back. Their running backs are redshirt freshmen. Quarterback's just a sophomore. This is going to be a good team for years to come.
Jamar Tompkins finding a way through the defense. That 16-yard pickup moves the sticks.
That's what Valdosta State needs to do. No more of these little tricks and getting cute. Let's line up. Let's run the football. Let's run it between the numbers so we get this clock running. And if we got to throw it, we've got to throw it. Let's not do it voluntarily. Longest rush offensively from Valdosta State off tonight, which is coming at a pretty good time.
And as you said at the top of the broadcast, Tom, the fact that this team has been able to run so effectively all season long. And here on first down, they decide to go downfield targeting Joe Fortson. And the clock stops now, and you're shaking your head right now, Tom.
I am. You just handed the ball off to your running back and Jamar Tompkins, and I'm shaking my head because if he just does it again, the clock was running before that play started. So now you should have another 30-some-odd seconds off of this clock before this next snap is taking place.
But you see there, scored on 7 of their 9 drives. They've gotten into the end zone for a touchdown. So if you're Kerwin Bell, you're pretty confident that your team is going to find their way to pay dirt once more and really try to seal the deal here late in the 4th quarter.
Here you sit with 3rd and 10. Ferris State couldn't ask for anything more. And now what Ferris State's going to have to do, if Valdosta State chooses to throw the football, which I believe they will, Ferris State has to keep the ball in front of them and tackle in space. The last thing you do here is give up a ball downfield. Force the underneath throw and tackle in space.
Man in motion. Wells looking downfield, keeps him in front of him, and the defense very close to that first down marker. The completion to Brian Sons, and just enough yardage to move the chains.
Now that's a well-coached receiving core, because Brian Sons goes just past the yard marker, catches the football, ends up falling forward. So you know where the yard to gain is. You know where the sticks are. You cannot run a route that's any shorter than that.
At this point, if you're Ferris State, you have 3 timeouts remaining. When do you start using them?
Well, hopefully Valdosta State isn't going to throw the ball here, but if they do and it's incomplete, don't worry about it. But if it's on the ground, you're going to have to use one right now.
They keep it on the ground. Your dot on the stop. The clock continues to run now under 3 minutes. Tony Anise
still waiting.
In your mind, why is Anise still waiting to use those timeouts?
Well, and you see Kerwin Bell right there telling its offense to hold up, hold up. I don't know. I don't know what they're expecting to have happen here. I don't know if they felt like maybe Valdosta State would try and throw it again. They didn't.
Well, if they played their luck or watched the trends today, they actually would be gambling in the right direction, because they have been throwing it. But they keep the ball on the ground once more to Tompkins.
And here comes the timeout.
So we'll take a break here from McKinney. D2 National Championship on the line. 2:28 remaining to find out who will be be the D2 national champion of this 2018 season. As a reminder to our viewers, you can tune in to the ESPN app for the post-game trophy ceremony immediately following the game. An all-important third down coming up. Blazers look to throw it. They're going for Fortson again, and Fortson has the ball knocked away by Ian Thomas, but a flag comes out. And with Thomas on the coverage, looks like a pass interference play. But again, so aggressive from Kerwin Bell.
And that ball actually should have been caught.
Yeah.
Got a big height advantage on the sideline there on the back shoulder throw.
There is no foul for pass interference.
Wow.
Fourth down.
Wow. Kerwin Bell says, you got to be kidding me. So it takes a gamble on 3rd and 4, decides to throw it.
If that's not pass interference, I don't know what is. But we had the holding call earlier, too, that brought back a touchdown that was not a holding call.
And the offense appears to be staying on the field. Do you like that, Tom?
Well, it's not going against type, I'll tell you that. That's what Kerwin Bell has done this entire game. He's called this thing the way he's wanted to call it, with almost no regard to the clock. If they get stopped here, it's a one-possession game with a 2-point conversion, and look at where the ball would start for Ferris State on offense. This is a huge gamble.
Nearly picked off. A turnover on downs, and the biggest stand of the night for this Ferris State defense.
Why would you not punt the football right there? I don't mind the call of the tunnel screen, although that Ferris State had the perfect defensive call. The ball gets tipped at the line of scrimmage. But even if you punt the ball and you punt it to one of the corners, get it inside the 15-yard line, there's 2 minutes, 15 seconds left. There's only one timeout, or 2 timeouts for Ferris State.
So Campbell, the Harlan Hill Trophy winner, flanks it out to Devontae Harrington. Harrington picks up the first down, gets out of bounds. 12-yard reception.
And no need to hurry here. I mean, you got out of bounds. Now the clock runs. It stopped for a moment to spot, and away you go. You got the first down.
Campbell feeling the pressure, avoids it, up the middle of the field, and another first down. And Route Campbell keeping this one going. 11-yard pickup. $119 yards on the ground. Best player in Division II. Voted yesterday. Can he quarterback this comeback? Campbell finds Cy Barnett, and Barnett down into the red zone. The Bulldogs will not go away. 35 yards.
Cy Barnett does a nice job leaning to the outside to create the separation and a window for Route Campbell to throw the ball into. Just really well executed route. And Kerwin Bell is an irate coach, as he should be on the pass interference call that was called off. But the management of this game and the play selection and the clock have been literally the responsibility of Valdosta State.
And you think to yourself, if that pass interference call is made, game's over.
The game's over. If you also think to yourself, what if they decide not to throw it and just run it? Now, Ferris State, even if they don't gain a yard, Ferris State still has to use another timeout.
Right.
This is the call we're referencing. This was called initially as defensive pass interference, as you see right there, by your line judge, and was called back off. And Kerwin Bell has every right, the head coach of Valdosta State, to be upset about that call because he's right. But choosing to throw the ball there and choosing to throw the ball when you have all the advantages, the momentum, the clock is in your favor, and forcing Ferris State, you force Ferris State to use one timeout, Tiffany.
And with 1:11 to go, within the 10-yard line, Tony Anise is going to rely on Route Campbell. First 3 quarters, he was 6 of 12, 25 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Fourth quarter, 4 of 6, 74 yards, and no drive more important than this one, first and goal.
And keep in mind, there's a minute left. You got 2 timeouts. They would have never imagined they'd be in this position 3 minutes ago.
Campbell keeps it himself up the middle, down to the 5-yard line, brought up by David Brown. Clock still running. Remember, if they score here, they have to convert on the 2-point conversion to tie it up. Barnett on the sweep, getting to the outside, and he's in for the score! Touchdown, Ferris State! Wow!
The jet sweep action for Cy Barnett, who's been a go-to guy on this drive, got them into scoring position. It's been a highly successful play for their offense all night long. Tremendous blocking on the perimeter by the rest of the receiving corps. And it comes down to this. Hey, we're in McKinney, Texas. It's Big 12 territory. Why not have a Big 12 type game?
What do you call here?
I think you got a play action pass off of the jet sweep motion.
They give it to Barnett. The double pass, looking for a man in the end zone, and unable to bring it in. And that is likely the ball game. Wow. It comes down to the 2-point conversion. They tried a little trickeration.
Just out of the outstretched hands of Keandre Craig on the back end line of the end zone, off of the reverse double pass. And credit Ferris State. They knew what their 2-point play was. They knew what which hash mark they wanted it on. They just didn't quite execute it. And that right there, folks, is why it's called a game of inches. And Valdosta State, Tiffany, very, very fortunate to be in the position that they are in right now with how the last 4 minutes of the game was managed.
Ferris State making their first ever national championship game appearance. Gave it literally everything they had. It has been an interesting one, back and forth. We felt like it would be a barn burner, and for these seniors who have likely playing their final game of their career for the Bulldogs. Now, as we've seen in this game, don't rule anything out here. Okay, after that touchdown, now you kick it off. You likely will try an onside kick, and you still have 2 timeouts at your disposal.
Plenty of time and plenty of ways to stop the clock. Now this is 2 teams that you can clearly see why these 2 teams belong here. Explosive, exciting, have answered the toll each and every time the other team has made a play or scored. And Kerwin Bell of Valdosta State calling timeout, doesn't like the alignment of this kickoff onside kick look from Ferris State. He wants to talk this over.
Folks, we're seeing the two best teams in Division II truly duke it out here in this title game. Valdosta State seeking its 4th national championship. They're 40 seconds away. Tony Anise and the Ferris State Bulldogs came in undefeated, 15-0 on the season, as both teams were. They were looking for their first.
It's interesting, we saw Tony Anise there, and I asked him when we spoke with him this week, because a lot of people told him not to take this job. And I said, so when you took the job, what were the resources? What are they now? Did they really invest? He said, no, they're pretty much exactly the same. So we asked people, don't judge the cathedral by the size, or the church the size of the cathedral. Judge it by its people.
The onside kick. And Valdosta State recovers.
At least they claim they have.
Well, I saw one of the line judges on the near side, or rather on the far side, say yes, but they're digging to find the bottom of the pile, and that ball.
Yep. A lot of unruly, unsavory things happen in that pile right there, Tiffany.
Ball bounces around in between the legs of a player, so it was up for grabs. And there to recover it was Jackson Bull.
And really, Ferris State targeted the right guy. They targeted a lineman that was on the front line of the onside kick return team. Probably the worst ball skills of any guy that you're going to have out there. Ball bounces off of him, and just unfortunate for Ferris State not to be able to recover.
A great showing from this group out of Big Rapids, Michigan.
Two really well-coached football teams. It's tough to see a loser today. As good as Kerwin Bell and his staff have been all year long, I'm a little perplexed by the last 4 minutes. But boy, I tell you, Tony Anise has been just as impressive, as has his staff and his kids.
Second most points combined in the D2 National Championship game. As expected, two excellent offenses. Two quarterbacks who were among the best in this division.
Right now, Kerwin Bell is just saying, can I go home? Can we all just please go into the locker room, get on the bus, and go home?
Remember, the trophy presentation coming up after this game concludes over on the ESPN app. Check it out on ESPN3. Man. Traveled a long way, and you think of a 15-0 season for Ferris State coming in. As we mentioned, their seniors playing in their last game as Valdosta State. In victory formation, Ferris State using their final timeout.
Kerwin Bell right now. We are one play away, guys. One play of not botching the snap, taking a knee, doing all of the easiest things in football, right? Just the fundamentals. This is what we practice at the end of every practice, of every Thursday, and every walkthrough on every Friday. Don't screw this up.
For Valdosta State, this is a big moment for them, and for Ferris State, awesome job to get to this point, and for many of their players, their seniors, this is the final game of their football career. No way to stop the clock at this point. You see the emotion on the sideline for Ferris State. disappointment on the other side. A sigh of relief as Valdosta State, your 2018 Division II national champions.
Well, congratulations to both of these teams. So well coached, such great players, and what a long journey to get here. I mean, it is a long season for everybody, but at the Division II and the Division III level, that playoff structure is a grind. So congrats to Kerwin Bell, Valdosta State, and Tony Anise and his staff as well at Ferris State.
Kerwin Bell in his third season helping the Blazers to bring home their 4th national championship. Good exchange at the middle of the field between those two coaches. Man, barn burner, exciting game, the highs and lows that you would expect of a national championship. It delivered on all levels. Valdosta State ends their season with a perfect 14-0 record. That wraps it up from Texas as the 2018 Division II national champions, Valdosta State. For Tom Luganbill and company, I'm Tiffany Green as we send it over to basketball in the Air Force Reserve Basketball Hall of Fame Boardwalk Classic.